Both teams were expected to be challenging for the top spot in their respective divisions. As it is, both are challenging for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, tonight's outcome won't decide that, but the winning ship just might be set on the right course.
Evgeny Malkin has scored in 11 straight games against the Lightning. He has 13 goals during that stretch. And Brian Dumoulin has scored 1 goal in the NHL, and it was against the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's who's on the schedule tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. A gigantic regular season game tonight in Tampa, Florida. And why is it gigantic? Just look at the standings. The Pittsburgh Penguins can tie the Lightning with a couple of points here tonight. They would move into a tie with them with 48. As for the Lightning, if they win, they would move ahead of the Montreal Canadiens into that 3rd spot in the Atlantic Division. The Penguins would be back into a wild card position with a win here tonight. That's how important it is for Pittsburgh. And, of course, the guys they turn to are 2 guys who are really the hottest players for their respective teams here, Bob, since the Christmas break.
Yeah, it's been a good break for Sidney Crosby of the Penguins and Stamkos for the Lightning. Sidney Crosby's got 6 goals since the break, and he's come back strong. He took the game off right before the break. And for Sidney Crosby, he's got 33 points on the season. Starting to light it up. The power play's been hot. He was unbeatable, really, in Carolina that 3rd period. They couldn't stop him, nor could the Avalanche stop Stamkos. He picked up a pair in the last game for the Lightning. He's a 20-goal man again. He and Crosby shared the Rocket Richard Award in 2009. He followed it up with 60 goals 2 years later, and we'll see if he remains a Lightning player for the long term.
The Penguins lost Nick Bonino to a hand injury. He's out for a while, and that means that Eric Fehr is going to get a chance to play in a position that really he was signed to play by Penguins GM Jim Rutherford.
Yeah, they brought him over from the Caps. He had a bad elbow. He got in late, and he has just been chomping at the bit and relishing this opportunity to play center. He said, I feel free there. That's my position. That's what I want to do. He can score goals. He can defend and go against top players. Watch out for Fehr.
Chris Kunitz leads the hit parade for the Penguins with 163 hits. And guess what? He has 8 goals in 10 games against Tampa Bay. He's going to visit with Dan Potash in just a moment. The Pens and Bolts are coming up from Tampa on Root Sports.
We have not seen a whole lot of sunshine over the last 2 days here in Tampa, but the Penguins are hoping to shine tonight as they take on the Lightning right here on Root Sports. And Chris, just 2 points separate these 2 teams. Starting to talk a lot more about the playoff picture. How do you guys find that next level of desperation tonight?
We just have to raise our execution every time we go out there. Just realize how important the situation is. Even though we might have to compete with this team the last week of the season, it's better to do it now and get these points.
Patrick Hornqvist joined Sidney Crosby and yourself the other night in Carolina. How do you guys find time and space against a defense that's pretty good?
Yeah, they're going to be up in your face lots. The pucks be in behind them, getting foot races, try to keep them down in their end. They're a quick strike team. They're going to turn it over and come at you fast. So try to put pucks in behind them, play with our speed.
Chris, thank you. Thanks. Staggy, you're up.
Thank you very much, Dan. Let's take a look down at our Toyota lines, Bob, for tonight.
That's where we were sent. Kunitz, Crosby, and Hornqvist. Hornqvist was put on that Crosby line in the 2nd period of the last game. Perron plays with Malkin and Phil Kessel. There's Kuhnhackl, Matt Cullen, and Connor Sheary was just called up by the Baby Penguins today. And there's Kevin Porter, Eric Fehr playing in the middle with Brian Rust. Ole Mata and Chris Letang. Boy, Letang has been on fire. Mata plus 13. Dumoulin, yeah, he's got 1 career goal against the Bolts with Lovejoy. And Ian Cole and Trevor Daley.
Well, the Penguins had a couple of real good practices the last couple of days here in Tampa, Florida, getting ready for this big game. They've won 11 of their last 12 against the Bolts, who are coming off a trip to Western Canada where they went with 3 straight wins on the way home. Jerseys, the way he puts up numbers against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm sure he'll be fired up tonight against all these Russian players of the Bolts. And what are our Rivers Casino tips to win for this one?
Well, it looks like a Malkin hat trick there, but I don't know. They need a good start. They did not have a good one in Carolina. They have to have one against the Bolts. Fill that Bonino void. Eric Fehr, yes, he is relishing this opportunity, and Can you stop Stamkos? He's already got 22 in his last game.
There's our Kia starting goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury, who has a personal 7-game winning streak against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but he was pulled here. You got to remember that. He didn't take the loss. Vasilevsky, he got a win against the Pens last year. And there's a proud father, and Mike Sullivan for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's got Connor Sheary back in his lineup. Asked about Sheary today and said, hey, we're ready to go. And John Cooper, there he is, the bench boss here with the Lightning.
Pleasant fellow, isn't he? And a guy who helped the Lightning get all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Maybe a little bit of a hangover this year. They won a stretch where they won only 4 of 14 games between mid-October and 11th of November. So, you know, they're trying to get back on track, and they feel like they are doing that right now with 3 straight wins, including a 4-0 shutout in their last game of that road trip against Colorado. So they come home where they aren't as good as they'd like to be. They have 10 wins at home and 12 on the road. The Penguins start with Sidney Crosby against Tyler Johnson's line. And from the opening draw, the Bolts dump it in. It skips right over the stick of Fleury to the near wall. And working in behind the net now is Alex Killorn against Chris Letang. Up the wall it comes for Tyler Johnson. And behind the net, Olli Maatta stripped of the puck by Nikita Kucherov, who fed it back over to the near corner. A centering pass. Fleury broke up that pass with the blade of his stick. And the Penguins' Kunitz able to get to it. Moves it along to Crosby. Here he comes, trying to bust around Stralman, who stayed right with him. Sid goes down. And the puck comes up the wall to Kucherov. 2-on-2 situation. Killorn open on that left wing, trying to get a step on Lovejoy. Shoots it. And an awkward right pad save by Fleury, but the Penguins able to get to the rebound, and Kunitz comes storming back for the Penguins and dumps it into the Lightning zone and goes to the bench.
Fleury's got to be ready. That was a slippery play by Kucherov. Looked like he was going to dump it in. He hit Killorn down the left side.
This is Valtteri Filppula moving it to Ryan Callahan, and Callahan moving in against Dumoulin to the corner. Banks it off the wall to himself. Stepping in there to play it is David Perron. Perron working hard, but the Lightning maintain possession of the puck. A good reach there by Kessel to prevent Schuster from getting a clean shot away. Now behind the net, Callahan, but Dumoulin fell down. Callahan will get to the puck. Paquette's open in front, but he goes to Filppula instead, and he couldn't take the pass. Schuster's able to hold it in momentarily, but Perron forces it back to center where it's taken by Malkin. Evgeny Malkin down the wing, just throws it right through the slot. Perron couldn't get there. Schuster had good body position on him. And now to center ice comes Filppula. He'll need to get off here. He dumps it in. He'll turn and go to the bench as the Penguins start right back up the ice. Good skating by Trevor Daley in neutral ice. A hit for Connor Sheary. Couldn't get it deep, and the Lightning start from their own zone.
You would expect a good skating hockey game. You got to use physicality to slow down the opponents. Both of these teams can really fly. Look out.
Yep, and here comes one of them, Namestnikov. Shooting, he scores! A rifle shot by Vladislav Namestnikov. His 7th of the year makes it 1-0 Tampa Bay. Right on cue, Bob, I might add.
John Cooper said this morning, Namestnikov was not in our top 9. We put him in. We can't take him out. Take a look at this pass. Beautiful pass by Stamkos on the backhand. He walks around the Penguins' defense. Namestnikov, what a shot. That's a weird-looking shot by the left-handed shooter. Kind of like a flat-footed half-slap shot. You don't teach that. You really do not teach that kind of shot. It had a lot of steam on it, and the Russian has put the Lightning up by 1.
Taken 27th overall in 2011. He's now a +9 in his last 5 games, including that plus that came with that goal. So he has really started to play extremely well, putting him on a line with Stamkos, who also is scoring. Very dangerous. There's a shot by J.T. Brown that is gobbled up by Marc-Andre Fleury. Anyway, we saw Artemi Panarin score against the Penguins, the first goal in a game. And for the Blackhawks, now we get a first goal here. And the Penguins have allowed the first goal in 12 of the last 16. And it's just a tough road to hoe when you don't score that first goal. When you do, boy, you really increase your chances of winning games. The Penguins 13-2-1 when they do score first. They'll have to find a way to fight back again. Here's a shot by Kucherov and a glove save made by Fleury.
Well, yeah, you got Kucherov, Nestorov, Namestnikov, and Steggy. I hope you get them all straight tonight. You got the first one right. They're all talented hockey players. Kucherov's got 16 goals. He was stopped there. Namestnikov is already on the board for John Cooper's club. Wow.
Well, a turning attempt there by Killorn. It was interrupted on the way through. Letang races over to bank it off the boards. Kunitz moves it out to center. Crosby tried to drag it around a man, but now it's Killorn with it. Alex Killorn into the Penguin zone. We mentioned that the Lightning haven't been as good at home as they have been on the road. And getting that first goal at home, though, is really a big lift for them. Coming off that successful game in Colorado, the 4-0 shutout. Ben Bishop was in goal for that. Dumoulin just fell down, gets back up, handles the puck coolly, moves it along now with the right wing, and Hornquist into the middle now for Crosby, who pokes it in behind the defenseman Strawman to the goal, taken there by Jason Garrison. Out to Killorn, who snaps it along now for Tyler Johnson. Johnson had 29 goals last year. Now Kucherov feeds one way through the slot.
Suster moving up, 6'7". Undrafted Suster. He was with the Penguins in that. Thought they might have a shot at signing him.
Look out, here's Kessel centering and off the stick of Paquette. Mentioned Tyler Johnson. He had 13 playoff goals on the way to the finals. Here's Filppula with it now. He shoots, and Fleury square to the shooter, able to make the save and hang on to it.
Well, the Penguins defensive, they've stumbled and bumbled a little bit here. We saw Dumoulin go down. We saw Daly get beat. We saw Ian Cole here get turned. And you got it when you're an off winger, you're coming down the right side and you're left-handed shot. For a defenseman, you have to keep them to the backhand. That's the whole key. Whether it's Stamkos coming down the left side, all these left-hand shooting Russians coming down the right side, you got to keep them to their backhand. They're going to do damage if they can get to their forehand and rip those snapshots at Fleury.
Palat dumps the puck in behind the net and roll him out of there to play it. Got it free. It's up for grabs, and the Lightning get it. Centering pass. Backhand attempt is blocked in front as Nesterov tried to let it go. And now the Penguins just force it back up into the Lightning zone. Kevin Porter reaching for it. Taken by Nemestikov. Now up the near wall. Palat in his own zone. Moved it into the middle. Out of the reach of Nemestikov, but he'll catch up with it. And over the line, Stamkos heads to the net. And another sneaky shot by Nemestikov. And Fleury stopped that. Nemestikov moves it out to the point to Nesterov. Left side to the corner where Stamkos takes it. Back up top. Nesterov holds it. To the left side. Shot is blocked. Comes right back out. Nesterov with a slapper. That one's blocked, and it goes up into the netting on the near side. So the Lightning suddenly running into some resistance in that Penguin zone as they did a good job to block some shots.
Yeah, Cullen out there with Porter and Russ. So flip-flop those lines. Fair will move with Kuhnhackl's group. And for right now for Pittsburgh, their defense, you know, it's unconventional. You don't always see left-handed shooters coming down their off wing. You're used to the puck being on the other side. You got to be very cognizant of that and play it that way. Play a little more inside on their stick so you can block shots, number one, and keep them to their backhand. Give them the outside, if anything. They have a lot of speed there.
Cole moves it along for Crosby. It just jumps right off the blade of his stick and is taken now by Victor Hedman. Hornquist races in to get the puck. Swings around Matt Carl. Lightning going with 7D tonight, so Carl playing like a forward. And now a steal by Crosby, but then he couldn't shoot it. He was hooked, and there'll be a penalty against Tampa Bay.
Boy, that was a terrible play by Johnson. That backhand blind pass right up the middle of your own zone against the Crosby unit. And that forces...
Tampa number 86 has 2 minutes for hooking.
Dean Morton calls that penalty. Take a look at this pass. What is that? I mean... that was just way too risky, and Sidney Crosby picked it off. He was able to draw the penalty, and the Penguins go to the power play.
Nikita Kucherov is off for hooking. The Penguins really rely on their power play for success, and if they can get a power play goal, they usually have a tremendously better chance of winning the hockey game, and we'll try to get one here early. They did have that opportunity, 2 of them in fact, against Carolina the other night, and they failed to even really generate any offense. They didn't get a shot on 2 power plays back to back, which really hurt them in that game. Took some of the life out of them in that first period. Here's Malkin with it now on the left side. Malkin moves it across. One-timer. Big save by Vasilevsky on Crosby as he came across in that butterfly.
Wow, that was a really patient entry by the Penguins. They really took their time getting in the zone. It really worked. And Vasilevsky's able to make saves. Take a look. Back Malkin to Crosby. all the way over, then all the way across to Malkin. So great passes, tape to tape. They were patient. They took what was given, and they get the big chance at the end of it by Crosby. That was beautiful. Patience, and they got the shot right away.
And Andre Vasilevsky making the save, making it look easy. Read the play perfectly. Now Kessel shoots one. Ooh, that was a ricochet just wide of the net. Now taken by Malkin into the high slot. Popping out to take the pass there. Hornquist over to Malkin. He was using that guy, that bumper, more in this power play, and I think it's helped their power play a lot. You saw Hornquist came out there. And that's what Patrice Bergeron does for the Boston Bruins, who have the #1 power play in the NHL.
And guess who blocked that shot? Callahan again. Right in the middle, blocking that shot as he did in New York, and doing it here for the kill for the Lightning.
Now Malkin just inside the line, trying to control the puck. They work it free, though. Paquette brings it towards the Penguin zone. And able to get the puck to the corner. It's handled now by Kunitz. Second power play unit, at least partially. Now here's Crosby moving it to Malkin. Malkin drops it off. Kessel back to Gino in front. It goes right past Crosby to Kunitz now on the left wing. Kunitz has replaced Hornquist here. And he has it on the near side. It's still virtually the #1 unit without Hornquist. Kunitz out here. And Letang at the point. Finds Kunitz. He pops out to help out. Moves it right side. And handled there by Sidney Crosby. 23 seconds to go in the penalty. Crosby, sharp pass. Letang, slap pass. And Paquette got a stick on it, but Kessel moves it behind the net. And the Lightning will win the battle for the puck, but they don't get it out. Nice play. Letang anticipating, shooting. Oh, just deflected wide of the goal. One thing Letang has done, Bob, that I've noticed is he's taken a lot off that slap shot. He's taking that short windup now, getting rid of it a lot quicker. Here comes Fair, busting in, surrounded by blue jerseys. He shoots it off a stick up into the netting behind the goal.
Well, it was a slow start. Let's face it. Shots are 5-1. The Penguins have the power play. Maybe that'll get them going.
Well, the Penguins did not score on the power play, but I think they got some momentum from that power play. But they're a team that really relies on power play goals for success. In fact, more so than any team in the league. You look at that differential, .381 winning percentage difference when they score a power play goal versus when they do not. The average in the league for a team that does score on the power play, .647. When they do not, .483. But the Penguins are #1 in the league in terms of getting more wins as a result of that one power play goal that they can score in a hockey game. So it's that important to them.
It is for many teams, and you know that they really do feed off that. When they won their Cup in 09, you could sense that they scored those big goals, those timely goals. You got to have it. I mean, there's not much goal scoring in the NHL right now. Those one-goal games.
Clearly from that graphic, every team benefits from it, but some just don't rely on it as much for their success as perhaps the Penguins do. The numbers would say that. Now here are the Penguins moving it out to the center of the Lightning, and it's taken by Olli Maatta. Moves it to the right side, Trevor Daley. Ahead for Fair, who steers it into the Lightning zone. Up the wall, and it's taken now by Olli Maatta. Maatta looks it over, shoots the puck. It's blocked, gets it back, and throws it towards the net. Comes right back to the Penguins' Eric Fair. He tried to get it down the wall. Taken away, though, and brought out to center ice. Paquette will just dump it in and go to the bench. J.T. Brown in on the forecheck against Trevor Daley. Finishes him off, and Daley, though, able to get the puck out to center ice.
Maatta out there with Trevor Daley for that last shift. I know it was after a long power play, but there was a TV timeout, and I'm wondering if they're looking for matchups against some of the right-handed right wingers, the left-handed shooters that have done damage already in the form of Nemesnikov.
Carl working on defense now as he works it across. Garrison sent it inside the zone. Turning with it now, Lovejoy. He got knocked down from behind, lost the puck. And a centering pass in time for Stamkos, picked off by Dumoulin. Good defensive play by Dumoulin as he helped out, bailing out Lovejoy, who had fallen down. Now Lovejoy behind the net. And that's you said it earlier, Bob, a few guys have just fallen down here early in the hockey games. The puck is dumped the length of the ice. It's an icing call against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, you give the Lightning forwards a little bit of credit for that. But
yes.
Take a look at our day automotive. Great day for hockey. How about Gino? A 5-point game. The natural hat trick back in 2012. You talked about his streak, 11 straight games with points against the Lightning. And time for Gino to light up.
Malkin yesterday in practice seemed to be bugged by something. He was skating around, kind of doubled over, looking down at his leg, whacking his stick on the glass after drills, just not looking happy during the practice, like something was bothering him. But he seemed to have a different look on his face here before the game in the warm-up. And Bob, you made the mention that maybe those other Russian players in the lineup also will get him motivated here tonight. They have so many of them, the Lightning. Down the wall comes Rust to the corner, watched by Hedman. He sent it back up the boards. Now Rust in the corner again, trying to maintain possession with 3 blue jerseys around him. Now joining in there is Kevin Porter reaching in for the puck. And look at this scrum. Finally, the Lightning emerge with the puck. Kucherov moves into the middle to Killorn. Killorn bumped backwards by Letang, but keeps on coming, and then Mata stays with him. Over to play it and help out is Crosby, who just backhands one out to center ice. Andre Schuster with it there.
Schuster 6'7". Hedman 6'6". That's some tall bodies back there on defense for the Lightning.
And then there's Tyler Johnson, who's 5'8", number 9 of the Lightning. Up the wall, Kunitz forcing it back to center. Schuster reaching for it. Hornquist as well. Crosby throws a hip into Tyler Johnson. And Crosby with a puck shooting, and that's off a leg wide of the net. Hornquist throws it in front. It comes right back to him off the back of the cage. Far side, Daly shoots it. Kicked out, and the rebound comes right to the Lightning's Tyler Johnson. And he'll skate it out of danger. Just backhands it into the middle again, where Trevor Daly will handle it now for the Penguins to the left wing, and Kunitz. Onto the ice comes Malkin, but Kunitz couldn't get on the puck. Now it's Ryan Callahan with it for Tampa Bay. To Schuster. Garrison moves it right side for Callahan. Picked off by Malkin. Gino closing in, trying to get to the net. Here he is, and he just couldn't pull the trigger as he got close to the goal.
Well, he's looking for a penalty, I think. He walked right around Schuster.
Now the Lightning are offside entering the Penguin zone. Take a look at what happened with Gino there as he went to the net.
He was dancing, wasn't he? He did have that different look, and he went one-on-one against a 6'7" body, threw it to his legs, went right around Schuster.
Up about an hour south of us in Bradenton this week, and while Jeff Karstens is no longer playing for them, the former Bucko is still a Penguins fan. He lives in the area and stopped by practice on Thursday just to say hello. By the way, Karstens has gone back to school where he is finishing up his degree in communications, though he still makes trips to Pittsburgh to do some charitable events at least once a year. Guys, he was awesome to cover during his tenure with the Pirates. Still a good dude and still a Penguins fan.
Hanging out in the locker room, having a good time yesterday after practice. Kind of a relaxed atmosphere here for a couple of days with the Penguins getting a chance to practice here on the rink they would be playing on tonight. A rare opportunity. And one of the road trips we've been on this year, when we've been in town for a couple of days, we've had to practice at practice rinks. It's nice to see the Penguins be able to come to the big building to do their work. Now there's a centering pass by Coburn. It just sits there in front of Fleury, and he's able to freeze it. And then we go from talking about the Buccos to talking about the Pitt Panthers as they get ready to hit the hardwood at the Pete this weekend for an ACC matchup against Boston College. And all of the action tips off tomorrow at 2 o'clock on Root Sports.
BC and Pitt, Steggy. And for Marc-Andre Fleury, he'd like to see the puck in the other zone a little bit longer. 6-2.
Nemesnikov and Palat, the threesome for the Bolts. No longer do they have the triplets. Here's a shot by Hornquist. His Hedman turned the puck over, and he's saying that it was, I'm not sure what he's arguing here, but he was not happy with how Hornquist ended up getting free there.
Well, take a look at the face-off, and the Penguins hard around. When you get it hard around the glass, you're going to have bad bounces, and that's what happens. Mata gets it on the glass. He's saying it was a hand pass. Yep. I think whoever that was on the left side, Kunitz, he missed it with his hand and went right to Hornquist. He put his hand up there. I don't think it hit his hand, but he was calling for a hand pass. That's what he was arguing about Hedman.
Here's Letang coming to the net, shooting, saved by Vasilevsky, score on the rebound. Hornquist drives to the net, right into his office, and he may have jammed it in at the last second, or it may be a Letang goal all the way. Either way, Hornquist was right there after Letang took the initial shot.
Yeah, boy, traffic. Hornquist was right there in front of the net. A face-off win for the Penguins. Sidney Crosby, hand backwards. You see Letang drop in, just jams the puck to the net, and it bounces through the arm and the body of the goaltender, Vasilevsky. It's across the line, and Chris Letang is going to get credit for his 6th goal of the season. Wow, 6 goals and 27 points. And what about the additional Letang to this lineup? The Penguins have just been sensational since he's got back into it, and they were 1-7-1 without Letang.
Great to see him going to the net. You remember the goal he scored in Detroit where he went to the goal and made a great move to beat Mrazek in Detroit. Now he goes right close to the net again and shoots the puck. It finds its way into the net with Hornqvist hovering around that cage. Well, you just saw Olli Maatta go down. I mean, the Penguin defensemen, every one of them's hit the deck here in the first period.
I think the boards jumped out at him there, Staggy. But you know what? They've got this ice back on level playing field after that Letang marker. Take a look. Maatta just ran out of territory. Thought he was playing in the World Championships in the bigger ice surface. And shot to the net. So good stuff by the Penguins to get that face-off win, get the goal. You remember Letang scored in the last game. Yep, off a face-off goal, off a Crosby face-off win.
And he's got 5 goals in his last 7 games, Chris Letang. So that's all you need to know. That's about as good a scoring jag as he's been on in his career, I would say. The puck goes all the way around the glass and out to center. Carried down to the neutral zone by Killorn. He drops it off. Swinging to the right wing is Tyler Johnson against Connor Sheary. And he moves it out to the point where Coburn holds it in. The bouncing puck moved aside by Cole for Kühnhackl, but it goes past him out to center. Coburn there, overskated. Now Sheary stumbles. Boy, people are just losing their edges. Now behind the net, Kühnhackl can't reach it. Back up to the blue line where Dumoulin dumps it right back in around off the glass.
Another bad bounce off the partition back there. So you get pucks around there. The goaltenders are going to have to be aware when you dump it in. If you can keep it on the glass, they won't come out and play pucks.
Sheary works along the wall, and Malkin steps in for possession out to Lovejoy. The shot blocked away by Vasilevsky. With 8:02 to go in the first period, and the Bolts out shooting the Penguins 7-4, now 7-5. The game is tied at 1, and Dumoulin finds Malkin. Gino, a long rink-wide pass for Kessel, who drives it into the Lightning zone. Vasilevsky let it go around. Matt Carle struggling a bit this season for the Bolts. Got it out. And now Callahan able to dump it into the Penguins end and get in after it against Olli Maatta. Callahan crashing in there. 3 Penguins converge, though, to make sure they got the puck out. And back to get it goes Jason Garrison. Now a rink-wide pass for Valtteri Filppula, who loses it back to Garrison in his own zone. And the Lightning patiently control the puck in that puck possession game. Filppula, though, lost it at the blue line, and Crosby ends up with it. Penguins are playing with a level of intensity and determination here. You can feel it in this game. Here's Hornqvist down the right wing against Victor Hedman. He swings in behind the net. Penguins do have a lot of resolve in their game now. You can feel it, and more resiliency over the last couple of weeks. Namestnikov with it. Winds it back in behind the net. Cole is there. Over to get it is Daly. Up the wall now for Hornqvist. And he pokes it out to center. Pretty good first period for the Penguins so far. Back to get it goes Cole on an icing call against Tampa Bay.
And they turned it around after a lackluster, I thought, first 8 minutes.
Our barrel leaders, and these are 2 players who have been leading the way for the Bolts respectively here lately since the holiday break.
Yeah, they each have an assist here tonight, 34 points apiece. 6 goals since the Christmas break. And Stamkos has got the 20 goals. Crosby's got the 22 assists.
From the draw, Dumoulin against Hedman, moves it down low to Brian Rust. Leaning on him, number 6, Anton Strawman, and the Lightning able to come to center. 3-on-3 rush here. Puck is dumped to the corner for Palat. Dumoulin goes back, and Palat able to work it out to the point. Nesterov wrists one, trying to get it to Palat, but it comes now to Matt Cullen, whose attempt to headman the puck was fanned on, and Namestnikov moves it back to Nesterov in his own zone. Now Braden Coburn, the former Flyer and Atlanta Thrasher, moves it over to Nesterov.
Penguins clogging up that neutral zone. They get the turnover. Great job. Lightning had nowhere to go.
Maatta steps off the bench to play the puck. Makes a nice move to shake the check of Stamkos. Moves it up into the Lightning zone. Back to get it Coburn. Couldn't clear it. Sheary held it into the corner for Kühnhackl. Tried to make a little slithery move there against Coburn. Now Kühnhackl gets a stick on it, but J.T. Brown able to find the open man. And Callahan looks to the left wing to Brown. A.T. Brown working against Letang. Callahan goes to the front of the net. Letang stays on Brown, who sends it behind the net for Boyle to Callahan. He centers. Nobody there for the Lightning, and the Penguins get it. Phil Kessel in his own zone. Ahead now for Kühnhackl. Kühnhackl comes to center and softly dumps it into the Lightning zone and goes to the bench. Stick on the ice. Schuster has to navigate around that with Kessel coming on. And now Killorn coolly drops it back on defense. Colts just dump it in. Cole can't get it out. Schuster holds it into the right point. Right behind the net for Tyler Johnson. Johnson to Killorn, a shot. And that one was off the net, and then right around the net was Kucherov looking to maybe redirect one, but now Cole has possession. Moves it up the right wing, and the Penguins trying to get it out here. Another chance for Trevor Daley, who banks it off the glass to center. Garrison gloved it down and right to Dumoulin, who just stepped off the bench. And over to Cole now. Penguins trying to get untracked offensively here in their own zone. Dumoulin finally comes to center ice and carries it across the red line. Dumps it in, and on the forecheck goes Kunitz against Hedman. Hedman turns away from that check, sends it up the wall. Now right back to Hedman and across for Schuster. And in the middle now for Paquette over the Penguins line. But Brian Dumoulin stays right with him to clear it. It hits Filppula and comes back to Dumoulin in the zone. 4:18 to go in the first.
There's going to be a penalty, I believe, against the Lightning here.
Yep, Dumoulin was hooked up a bit going to the glass, towards the glass.
He was kind of overtaken a little bit. They're going to ring the register. The Penguins are going to go on the power play. What about that face-off goal by Letang? He's on fire right now for the Pens.
Penguins now have an opportunity to take the lead on our Allegheny Health Network scoreboard with their second power play opportunity coming up.
Here's Paquette. Put the stick kind of on the stick of Dumoulin. Dumoulin tried to stop. Paquette kept his momentum, tried to force the issue. And Cooper's Hockey Club will have to kill the Penguin power play. That goal by Chris Letang gives him 5 goals in the last 7 games for the All-Star defenseman. He's going to the All-Star game for Mike Sullivan.
And Mike Sullivan will be part of the U.S. crew of coaches in the World Cup this summer, and he's happy about that. Honored to be working with several of the American-born coaches in the league for the U.S. Now, here is Kessel, shooting save made. Hornquist right there to take it to the corner. Sends it around behind now for Crosby. Penguins Crosby moves it up top for Letang, who's able to work it to Kessel. Snaps it out to Malkin. Back to Letang, the shot, and that's blocked. Callahan gets it again. Callahan just gets right in front of you to block shots. Fearless. Malkin with it again. The shot, and Vasilevsky sees that one all the way, and there's no rebound.
Well, they're shooting the puck. That's the good thing for the Penguins. They've taken over the game here in this second half of the first. Letang, he took over the game in Carolina. Brought the Penguins back. They got a point. A face-off goal off the Crosby win, and again here tonight off the Crosby win. Letang goes down the boards, that vacated area. Hornquist did a great job. He pushed the defenseman off the wall right to the net, created room for Letang, took that area and took it right into Vasilevsky and was able to score on the short side.
The Penguins don't generate a lot of offense from the D. There's no doubt about that. We know that. But Letang is kind of compensating for that by really scoring a lot of goals here lately. I don't know if he's ever scored that many in such a short period of time. Now here's Crosby with it to Malkin on the left wing. Malkin looks for Sid. To Gino. Crosby working the left side. He had Letang coming in the back door. Couldn't get him the puck. The Lightning with good sticks in the lane there. Now behind the net, Kessel lost it to Stralman. It comes free where Boyle will reach it. And Boyle tried to clear it, but it comes to Stralman, who's able to bank it away, and it goes up and out of play over there on the Tampa Bay bench. Coming up with the first intermission presented by your neighborhood Ford store with Rob and Jay. Chris Letang will visit with Dan Potash. Have you noticed that, Bob, that shorter windup? We just showed that replay of that goal against Carolina. Just that quick release. Just getting rid of it in a hurry.
Sometimes I do. I mean, I would like to see him use it again. Callahan blocked his shot on that last power play. So sometimes it can be even shorter than that, Staggy. Not just even the half slapper you're talking about, but even just a wrist shot. So abbreviate everything.
Here's Dumoulin working it along now for Kunitz. Up top to Daley. Trevor Daley works it left side to David Perron. Perron to the circle for Kunitz, a one-timer, kind of shanked that shot, and the Lightning clear it, and it manages to stay in play all the way down the ice. And we're down to 23 seconds remaining on the penalty of Cedric Paquette. Trevor Daley works it ahead to Perron. Perron pulls the trigger. Save made by Vasilevsky, and Eric Fehr overskated on the rebound. Well, Perron waves to the bench. He goes off. As time ticks down here on this power play. Only 2 seconds left on the kill for the Lightning. Now out of the box comes Paquette. He goes right to the bench for Tampa Bay.
Really impressed by the resilience of the Penguins. It really wasn't a good first 6-7 minutes of the game, but they have got themselves back in here. They turned the tide. Got a lot of shots on Vasilevsky here and getting pucks to the net.
Hustling over to play the puck is Rust, and he's going to get a penalty for holding.
Similar to the Paquette penalty, you kind of overtake a man. You got to be careful. Rust doesn't like it.
Pittsburgh, number 17 has 2 minutes, holding.
Sometimes you get a lot of speed and you come in on a man, and Rust had the speed. Just put the free hand, the right hand on Stamkos. Stamkos used his body. He had no speed. And Stamkos used his body to protect the puck. And Rust said, well, I got a lot of speed here. What am I going to do? I'm going to try to go around you. But he had that free hand. He took the hand, one hand off the stick. And that's a red flag for the referee, and makes the call easy. And now Stamkos and his 9 power play goals are on the ice.
Yeah, he's got 9 goals in his last 11 games. So he's got 9, almost half of his 20 goals in the last 11 games. That's how much he's heated up. And despite all the talk about what's going to happen with him and his contract all over Canada, because a lot of people would love to see him go to Toronto, he's just trying to focus on playing hockey right now. And obviously, he's doing a pretty good job of that lately. He did have 43 goals last year, and he's on pace for 40 again. So he can still put the puck in the net.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe not as fast as he used to be before he broke his leg. Penguins force the puck back into the Lightning zone here. Now it's up to the Penguins to kill the time here for the rest of the period. Unless something happens, this power play would carry over. But only for a few seconds. The puck to the far side. Kuhnhackl is down. They get a lot of penalty killing duty for the Penguins with Nick Bonino on the shelf. And Mike Sullivan says a lot of good things about Kuhnhackl. He made a nice play right there on his off wing to get the puck out. Says he's the best shot blocker the Penguins have right now. That's how good he thinks he blocks shots. Here's Palat with it. Works it up top. Hedman. Johnson. Down low. Quick passing. Palat tried to set up Kucherov, and the pass wasn't there. Palat upset with himself for not making a connect. And now Tyler Johnson turns and drives it in. 28 seconds to go in the period.
Look at that play around the glass by Lovejoy. I love the way the puck is set up for him, and he just rips it around the glass. Nobody wants to stand in front of that hard slap shot when it's going to hit a partition, hit you right in the mouth.
Fehr and Kuhnhackl are the pair right now up front on the penalty kill. 12 seconds to go in the period. Ole Mata and Chris Letang back defensively. Letang will go get it now. And he rips it hard around, and up the wall it comes, where it's steered ahead by Fehr, but not out. 1 second to go. And time expires here in the first period. A well-played period for the Penguins. Yes, they got off to a bit of a slow start, allowed the first goal on the road, but bounced back to tie the game at 1.
Yeah, I was very impressed by the way they turned it back. They need everybody going here without Bonino tonight.
Let's go to Robin J.
Penguins Hockey on Root Sports is brought to you by Ram, official truck of the Pittsburgh Penguins. By Levin's, the official furniture and mattress supplier to the Pittsburgh Penguins. For the best quality, service, and value, shop Levin's. And by Number 1 Cochrane. Go one better.
Vladislav Namestnikov has scored for the Lightning. Chris Letang for the Pens in a game featuring some of the NHL's most dynamic players. Let's head back to Steige and Bob in Tampa for period number 2. Guys?
Thank you very much, Rob. Well, the last couple of days, the Penguins really concentrated on their neutral zone play under Mike Sullivan, their neutral zone forecheck. First goal of the game, though, the neutral zone was a wide open space for a couple of guys for the Lightning.
Well, it was. Daley got caught flat-footed, but we're going to start with Sidney Crosby and what he was able to do in that first period. And for Sidney Crosby, well, he was able to draw a penalty. He was able to win a face-off. He got a great shot on Vasilevsky. And for Sidney Crosby, just a carryover, I thought, from Carolina. There's the face-off win. Another assist for him. Both he and Stamkos, first-round picks, first overall picks. And that was a beautiful pass by Stamkos on that goal that led the Lightning, got them up 1-0 Staggy. So good stuff there.
Face-offs are brought to you by the new face of the region's real estate, Northwood Realty Services. And the face-off about to be dropped here and start the second period. Lightning dump the puck in. The Penguins go back, and Letang sends it down the ice. Out of the box comes Brian Rust. Only a few seconds to work within that power play, and the Penguins are able to clear the puck right away. So they're back at full strength here as the second period gets underway. Taken now by Hornquist. Dumped in now and handled by Vasilevsky behind the goal. The Lightning will start it up. Hedman takes the pass from Stralman. Out in center now to Palat. Fleury couldn't stop it coming around. Look at that little redirect there by Stamkos, but it comes to Crosby, who comes to center ice. Now the Penguins are offside as Kunitz was a stride ahead of the play.
Well, Vasilevsky, let's talk a little bit about this Russian netminder. You know, he was sent to Syracuse. They knew he was going to go there, play a game. He was going to come back. His wife was due in 2 weeks, Staggy. She was ready to give birth in a couple of weeks. They had it all planned out. Guess what happened? He got called in after the game, after the win in Syracuse. Rob Zettler, the coach, goes, good win. I know. What's up? He goes, you're going back to Tampa. Yeah, I know that. And congratulations. You're a father. Can you believe that? Just like that, she had the birth 2 weeks early. What a present that was. So he came back. He played against Minnesota the next night. And he, after a bad start, he got the win against the Minnesota Wild on January 2nd. So all good for Vasilevsky.
And the Lightning played 6 games in his absence, and this is his 3rd start in 6 since that stint in the American Hockey League. And so now he's starting to get more playing time, sharing it with Ben Bishop as Cole sends it around the horn. And he is the goalie of the future for the Lightning, has been for a while, and that's not to take anything away from Ben Bishop.
They want him playing, so they're going to send him down there if he's sitting around for a while.
Penguins have a similar situation with Matt Murray. You know, I kind of compare what they're doing with Murray with what the Lightning did with Vasilevsky. Here's a chance now. Daly moves up. Oh, he didn't shoot the puck. He tried to set up Kessel in front of the goal rather than shoot it. And now Daly's got to get back. Boy, that was an opportunity to at least get a rebound maybe for Kessel, but he tried to make the perfect play.
Looking for the slam dunk there. Daly on the move. That pass just didn't get through. I mean, big body guys. You talked about Boyle. There's another guy, 6'7". You got Schuster, 6'7". He stood up there, made the play there. The lanes appear open, but when you're 6'7", they can close down 20 feet on the ice, Staggy, just by reaching out. Take a look.
Look at Schuster.
There it is. I mean, there he is. Look how much he just got a piece of that pass. Puts his stick down. He's already 6'7". You add his arm reaching out. You add the stick length. That's got to be 20 feet of ice.
A few years ago, he came to the Penguins prospect camp as a free agent. Stamkos shoots one off a stick. And at that time, the Penguins were loaded with defensemen, and there was no room for Schuster, and they didn't really make much of an attempt to sign him, and the Lightning ended up with him. And now you look at it and you think, boy, he'd be nice to have, wouldn't he? And the Penguins had, you know, sort of a plethora of D-men that they thought would ultimately be able to play at Pittsburgh. They had Dupre and Harrington.
Undrafted, Staggy. A lot of scouts decided he wasn't going to be able to make it, I guess.
College hockey. Now it's Kunakol who dumps the puck into the zone. Brian Engblom is the color analyst for the Lightning. Actually played against Eric Kunakol, Tommy's father, in the World Championships in the 70s, in the 80s, which is amazing. I mean, you know, he stood there and told him about, hey, I played against your dad. You could tell Tom Kunakol was really interested to hear about what kind of player his dad was. And the player of the century in Germany. Lead pass for Cullen. Goes right past his stick. And this will be icing against Pittsburgh.
Well, we talked about face-offs. Face-offs is a big way to score goals, but to also get you on the rush. And Kucherov made a nice play, or Nesterov, excuse me, to JT Brown off the face-off for the Lightning from the center zone. There it is, right up the middle. Lovejoy moved to the outside. Expected that. And right away, JT Brown darted to the middle of the ice. We've seen the Penguins, so many creative face-off things. And Dan Bilesma had a lot of them. And all teams have them now, but you know, it wasn't always the case, Staggy. 2-3 years ago, this thing's just started to evolve everywhere on the ice.
Vasilevsky freezes the puck. Remember a couple of years ago they had Evgeny Nabokov as their backup in Tampa Bay, and Vasilevsky was playing in the minors. But you felt even at that time that the real #2 goalie on their team was him, even though he was in the minors.
That was even last year. I mean, that's who Dumoulin scored his first ever goal against, as well as Brian Rust. They scored them against. And there's Ben Bishop backing up. Big netminder again. Huge. Takes away a lot of space.
Here's Daly with it now, long for Kunitz. His pass to the high slot for Hornqvist picked off, but it goes right back to Kunitz. Gets it deep for Crosby. Oh, he went to Hornqvist. He couldn't control the puck. Now Kunitz shoots one from a tight, sharp angle, and a save made at the post. And some activity after the whistle. A glove to the face of Hedman there.
If you're playing against Kunitz and Hornqvist, you're not going to have a very fun night. That's number one. And number two, those guys are going to live on top of your netminder. Crosby's got to love it. Every time he's got the shot, he should just shoot it. Shoot it every time, because you're going to have one of those guys in front of the net. So you got to play hard against Hornqvist and Kunitz, because they're going to get there. They're going to get to the front of the net. And that's exactly what Hedman and company tried to do there. They said, this is our space, but you know that is not going to deter that man. Is that going to deter Hornqvist, Nagy? Not a chance. He loves that. You ask him after the game, I love that game because I was getting banged and bounced around. You know?
It's like Golfy used to say, I love the action.
He loves the action.
Fleury stops it, moves it along now for Chris Letang. Back to Gino. He's trying to get untracked here. The Lightning outshot the Penguins 5-0 at the start of the game, and then it was 8-2 after that in favor of the Penguins. Now the shots are 9-8 in favor of Pittsburgh. Malkin. Up the wall now for Letang, and across. Daly to Letang. Doesn't shoot it. Goes to Malkin. Right back to Letang. And now to Gino. To Daly. Thing was just maybe overpassing here.
Letang ran into the netminder. Took a stick right out of his hands.
And he has no stick as the puck is shot wide of the net. And there was another stick on the ice. Hedman had lost his.
Goalie's got a defense stick. And now there he goes. Now he's got the goalie stick back. A little bit of help there by Stallman.
Letang banks it off the wall to center. Penguins did not turn the puck over the neutral zone in the first period. The Lightning turned it over 4 times, but the Penguins just turned it over there. And the Lightning come into the Penguin zone and set it up now. Carl can't handle it cleanly. Taken away by Rust with speed. Here he comes. Rust closing in to the goal. Save made by Vasilevsky. Rust is hooked, and there won't be a penalty shot, but there will be a holding penalty. Not hooking.
Great speed by Rust. He scored in Montreal. He got a game-winning goal. And
Tampa number 62 has 2 minutes. Holding.
Again, get behind the defense here. Carl bounces a puck. You mentioned his troubles this year, and there's Rust on the move, protects the puck. And Suster had to take a penalty, reached around Rust. Rust was able to get body position on the big man.
By the way, Hornqvist gets a second assist on the Pittsburgh goal, so he picks up a point. Good work by Rust. And he forced Carl to cough the puck up there at the point. So now the Penguins will try to put that power play to work and see if they can't get the lead here against the Lightning here in the second period. Malkin to Crosby. Malkin fires, and giving up his body as Boyle will block it. Boyle hobbled a bit, but stays out here. And the Penguins able to gain the zone. Hornqvist tried to get it to the net, but Coburn backhands it back down into the Penguin zone. Boyle still hurting from that block, goes to the bench.
Boy, I thought he was 10 feet from the bench. I thought he was going to get off. He decided to stay on for another crack on a good block by the big man.
Letang drops it off to Kessel. He quickly moves it along. Crosby to Malkin and right back to Sid. Kessel was wide open in front of the net. Sid didn't go that way. Instead, he goes back to Malkin, to Letang. And back across now, Crosby. Sidney Crosby with it. Throws it to the net. Oh, man. Hornqvist was looking for a redirect. It went right by the blade of his stick.
Well, that was tricky. Crosby going backwards, doing those crossovers. He looked one way and shot to the net.
Crosby somehow stopped that puck from leaving the zone there by turning his back to the puck. Kept it in. That was a great play by Sid. Let's see if the Penguins can take advantage of that now. Here's Letang with it. Crosby across now. Quick pass and Kessel to Letang to Sid. Down low now to Malkin. In front. Oh, Hornqvist is stopped by Vasilevsky. And a real good bang-bang play there set up by Malkin. Kessel. Letang. Doesn't shoot it. Goes to Kessel. Hornquist and Malkin down by the net. Crosby shoots again, and now you're also looking for a redirect there, but Hornquist couldn't get a stick on him. It goes back to Letang at the blue line. 24 seconds to go on the Schuster penalty. David Perron, an offside call on the Penguins.
Well, pretty impressive passing there by the Penguins. They didn't have that great chance on Vasilevsky, but they had the puck moving around. Look at that shot. Looking for the stick of Hornquist was Sidney Crosby. And then a little dish pass down, tic-tac-toe. Hornquist stopped by the right pad of the Russian netminder, who's on top of his game right now. He's got to be. The Penguins power play look good.
17 seconds to go on the penalty. Daly, Mata, Perron, Eric Fehr, and Chris Kunitz out here now for the remainder of this power play for the Penguins, down to just 7 seconds to work with as they bring it ahead. And here's David Perron. Gains the zone, finds Kunitz, his shot, and he sailed it wide over the blocker of the goaltender. Onto the ice comes Schuster, and the Penguins trying to keep it in the offensive zone. Now Ole Mata will take it. Schuster still out here playing like a forward. 3 defensemen on the ice, and they turn it over now. Kunitz shooting, oh, he missed a goal. Now in behind the net, Rust, Fehr, and Kühnhackl for the Penguins, but Paquette gets it for the Bolts and brings it into the Penguin zone. Back to get it goes Ben Lovejoy.
Boy, they looked discombobulated, the Lightning, when they had 3 defense on the ice when Schuster came out of the box, and the Penguins almost capitalized on a turnover right up the middle of the ice again. They have turned pucks over, as you said.
Now Lovejoy goes back into his own zone to play it. Palat in the forecheck. Heavy check on Lovejoy there. And now it's Rust trying to move it along for Daly, but the Lightning got in the way of that, and it's Steven Stamkos. He has Palat going to the front of the net. And now penalty, Matt Cullen takes down Stamkos.
I don't know. Stamkos is going down pretty easy for a guy that's one of the great players in the game. He doesn't have a broken leg right now. And Cullen can't believe it as he goes off. The Penguins are going to have to kill it. That stick on stick, and he went down. Well, we can argue about this one till the cows come home. Did he graze his glove? Maybe. But is this a penalty? No. No, that's on the stick. That's a too much stick for me. But it raises a question. Yeah, he did graze the glove, possibly. Raises a question. Keep your stick on the ice when you're defending, especially in a position like that in the corner. We saw Malkin do it in overtime, cost the Penguins a game on a 4-on-3 power play goal. Here, Cullen, a penalty killer. You don't have Bonino. Cullen is in the box. This is big time right now in a 1-1 hockey game. They're going to have to kill it. And Stamkos, stay on your feet.
There's a lot of questions in that analysis.
I'm throwing it all out there for you. And you decide, Staggy. All I know is the Penguins do have to kill. The referees get the final say.
No, they also are going to get a final say on who's going to take this face-off. Eric Fehr's thrown out of the circle, and Tom Kühnhackl is going to step in and take it against Tyler Johnson. Kühnhackl takes the stick of Johnson, and over to get it is another penalty coming up. A hooking penalty.
On Fehr. Keep your stick on the ice. I think I said that, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. So not only does Fehr get kicked out of the face-off circle, this would never have happened if he was taking the face-off.
Pittsburgh penalty, 16, 2 minutes, hooking.
So Kühnhackl's taking the face-off. The puck goes in behind. Fehr darts out to the point, and what does he try to do? He tries to lift the stick right there, and that definitely was all over the hands. That stick was on the other side of the hand, almost up the arm. And Fehr goes to the box, 5-on-3 for an extended period of time. And you got 2 of the best penalty killers in the box.
I can't believe it. I mean, it's just that's how quickly things can turn against you. And now the Penguins are really in a tough spot. You see how they handle it off the draw. A long 2-man advantage.
They had it clear. Mata had a chance to get that puck down the ice.
The Lightning set it up. Kucherov. Stamkos, slap pass, Doug Johnson, Kucherov, over to Filppula, he scores. Valtteri Filppula comes in the back door to score on the 5-on-3.
And Mata is bent over, He's shaking his head right now. We had a chance to get this puck down the ice, and when you get a chance, you have to get it there, because in a 5-on-3, they had 1:57 to deal with. Mata's going to get at this puck right here, and the puck does not go down the ice. Filppula gets his stick in there, and the puck goes from Stamkos. Johnson made a great play. You see the way he took that pass from his left skate and put it over to Valeria Filppula, and he put it under the crossbar. Makes no mistake, it's 2-1, and you still have a lot of power play time on the 5-on-4 here.
Tons. They haven't taken the first penalty off the board yet.
That'll be the Cullen penalty, so a minute 37 left on the fair.
Now they take it off, so a minute 37 on the fair penalty, and here we go. Now it's important for Cullen to take a role here on the penalty kill with fair in the box. And the Penguins win the draw. That's a good face-off win for Cullen there, and the Penguins able to get into the Lightning zone. And Cullen works it to the corner, and Valtteri Filppula there. So the Lightning score on the power play against the Penguins on 5-on-3 with two tough penalties to take.
Yep.
Now here's Filppula. Mestikov lost the puck. Over to the near wing. It's taken by Stamkos to Stralman and across. Stumbling shot there. It was wide of the net. The Penguins able to get it back to center. And now we have a penalty coming up here.
Yeah, Cullen got his stick up here on one of the defensemen. I think it was Stralman. And then the stick went right up in his throat area, I believe. And Cullen's going to go back to the box. And so the Penguins shooting themselves in the foot right now. They've been so disciplined, and you can't do it against Stamkos and company. Now you got Cullen Fair back in the box. Take a look. He goes out to the point, and there's a cross check right in the throat. You have to call that. As much as I didn't like the first penalty to Cullen, that one there is inexcusable, and he knows it. Puck was up high, no reason to get the stick up there. And a 5-on-3 against Aggie. 55 seconds worth, and that's still a good amount of time. Tough to win a face-off here.
Valtteri Filppula, Tyler Johnson, Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, and Andre Palat on the ice now for the Bolts. The Penguins have Kevin Porter, Letang, and Cole, one-timer. And that hits Cole, but comes right back out to Stamkos straight away. Works it near side to Tyler Johnson. And behind the net, Palat. They're on for Kucherov, but he's not going to be able to play it. The Penguins want to get it out, can't do it. Here comes Stamkos. Over to Johnson, a pass not in his wheelhouse. Letang tried to get it out, but Stamkos has it again. 33 seconds to go on the two-man advantage. That's the fair penalty. And the Lightning with control. Stamkos guns it wide of the goal. The Penguins again fan on a clearing attempt. Letang didn't get it out that time. It was a rolling puck. He just fanned on it. Stamkos to Johnson. Johnson across. Quick passing. They don't go for the shot, and the Penguins are able to break it up. Porter able to clear it back under the Lightning zone. 9 seconds to go on the penalty to fair.
5 forwards on the ice for the Lightning.
And they set it up again, and there's Porter taking it away, and he just turns and fires it down the ice. So that'll kill the first half. There goes Fair onto the ice. So now it's down to a minute to go on the penalty to Cullen. I guess you could say if the Penguins could get out of this by just allowing one goal, that would be a victory of sorts after the trouble they put themselves in here.
I agree.
They've still got a lot of time left, though. There's 49 seconds to work with on this Cullen penalty, and Fair stumbles and not able to get to the puck to clear. Look out! Fanning right on the doorstep is Kucherov. And he centers down for Killorn. He can't play the pass, and it's cleared by Dumoulin the length of the ice.
Lovejoy had a chance to clear that. He hit Fair right almost in the head. But they're going to get this kill, and they really bear down here, buckled down, and certainly don't want to go down by 2.
26 seconds to go on the Cullen penalty. To the corner is Filppula. Mestikov works it down low. Callahan just backhanded it towards the net. It stays with the Bolts. Hedman across. Mestikov out top now to Hedman. The slap shot, he scores off the post and in. Might have been deflected again by Namestnikov. He might have 2, and he's doing an Artemi Panarin impersonation here.
Well, Solomon not liking the referee as he stares him down. And let's take a look and see if it was deflected or not. Hedman just ripped it. You could see right out in front of the net. was Nemesnikov, and he acted like he touched this puck. Right there, oh yeah. Deflection with the blade right over the glove hand of Marc-Andre Fleury. He was trying to look that shot into his glove. No time to react at all. Perfect deflection. And the penalties, they really took their toll on Pittsburgh. Down by 2 now. Still half a hockey game left, though.
It's just so ironic that the two guys who would take the penalties, Cullen and Fair, two of the best penalty killers the Penguins have, two guys who are veteran players who they've relied on to really be disciplined and play a real solid leadership role for the Penguins from a defensive standpoint, would end up being the guys taking the penalties.
Well, they come into the game, Staggy. Cullen's got 10 penalty minutes, and Eric Fair has got 9, and that was a fight. So he's only got 2 minors. Fair in his 32 games coming in, and for Cullen the same way. I mean, those guys are solid guys. Look, Fair now trying to get an explanation. Number 1, why'd you kick me out? And number 2, why are you calling me? And you know, I thought his hook was definitely more of a hook than the Cullen initial call that the guy with Stamkos falling down.
So the Penguins shoot themselves in the foot, and then the Lightning take advantage of that with a couple of power play goals, and they lead it 3-1.
Penguins are now back in even strength, Rick, and okay, Tampa gets a couple goals. How can your offense get back in a groove, get some momentum, and tie up this game?
Well, we're going to stay out of the box. I mean, we had a bad start in the first period. We held back on the game. I thought we played well the last part of this first period. Now we're running into penalty trouble. A couple of questionable calls, but we got to stay focused. Even if they're bad penalties, we got to make sure that you stay focused.
All right, Rick, thank you.
That's our one-on-one driven by number 1 Cochrane interview with Rick Tocchet, the former head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Became their head coach on an interim basis way back in 08-09 after Barry Melrose was fired.
Melrose said he didn't think Stamkos was ready to play.
Yeah, well, what happened was Tocchet decided to tell Stamkos to go upstairs. There's a centering pass, and the puck deflects up into the glass, and watch some games and take some notes, which he did. And then Wes Walz, who was an assistant coach at that time, he decided to spend a lot of time with video with Stamkos. Here's Crosby with it now. Oh, he gets bowled over by Strawman as he came towards the goal. Now with the corner, Hornquist crashing in. And then Stamkos proceeded to go on a tear after that. Here's Killorn with it down the wing. He centers, and right behind Tyler Johnson to the far wall. And now David Perron takes off for the Penguins. Perron coming to center into the Lightning zone. Perron shoots it, and a save made by Vasilevsky, and no rebound.
Well, Crosby tried to go one-on-one, and he was stood up. That was a big hit there by Strawman, wasn't it? And then Killorn tried to go to Johnson on the side of the net as Fleury took away the angle. Perron gets the shot on Vasilevsky. And we'll stay at 3-1 here. Only 13 shots by the Pens, 10 shots for the Lightning.
Here's Kessel with it now to Malkin. He tried it one time and then it's blocked. And now it's Callahan coming to center. Dumoulin steps over, hands it to Malkin. Gino moves it out now and center to Kessel. Phil Kessel into the Lightning zone, looks back. Comes around now for Garrison up the wing. And reaching for it now at center is Lovejoy. Over to Dumoulin. To Kessel and to Malkin. Malkin winds it up now for the Penguins to Lovejoy. Now it's the Lightning plugging up that neutral zone as the Penguins look for a lane. Lovejoy bumped into by Paquette as he dumps the puck into the Bolts zone. Garrison takes the pass from goaltender Vasilevsky, then decides to shuffle it right back.
Oh, he wasn't. I don't think he was ready for that. That could have slid in.
Stay tuned after tonight's game for an all-new In the Room. Join some of the team for dinner and a night out. Hear Nick Bonino mic'd up against the Winnipeg Jets and much more. In the Room debuts tonight after postgame on Root Sports.
Well, you heard Rick Tocchet talk to Dan Potash. He didn't like the start. Like the second half of the first period wasn't thought questionable calls there. The Lightning have capitalized here with 2 goals on 3 shots in this period.
Here goes Daly moving up. He centers one. And the Penguins go crashing in there looking for that loose puck, but it'll be frozen by a host of players in the goal mouth.
Still a lot of time. 7:07 left in this second period of play. There's Eric Fair. He's getting an opportunity to play in the absence of Nick Bonino, who took that shot in the hand. He was sent back to Pittsburgh. They said it's going to be more long-term, at least 4 weeks, I believe they said, for Nick Bonino. So Farragut's gets a great opportunity, loves the center position, likes to get that big frame moving, that big body, and when he gets going, he's got the ability not only to score goals, but to shut down the opposition's top players. You can play him in so many different roles.
He did that last year with Jason Chimera and Joel Ward in Washington. And that was the line for the Caps that played against the top lines. And very effective. Those two really good wingers he had to help him in that role. A little different here when he's playing with Kuhnhackl and Rust. Now Kuhnhackl is able to get the puck to Rust, who got pushed over from behind or hooked. So there'll be another penalty here.
Hook is the flavor of the day here in Tampa Bay.
Nestorov, the man headed off.
Tampa penalty, 89, 2 minutes, hooking.
So I get the question is, you don't want to get your stick up at all, and there's the hook. And for Rust, he's able to draw another penalty. And when you're in the offensive zone, a lot of these penalties you get when you're working the puck in the offensive zone. And that's why teams don't want to play in their zone too often, because typically you're going to get penalized.
Penguins on the power play. Malkin can't play the puck as it comes through. They're 0 for 3. Penguins have a total of 14 shots in the game, 5 of them on the power play so far. Here's Kessel with it. Back around now for Malkin. Malkin to Crosby. Sidney Crosby works the half wall. Down low to Gino. Malkin tried to set up Hornquist. He was closely covered. The puck back to the corner. Crosby tried to quickly move it to the front of the net. Now wanted to go to Malkin behind the net. Good work there by Hornquist. To Crosby, a shot. Save made. And Vasilevsky didn't really have it frozen, but the whistle blew. And guys were in there looking for that loose puck.
It was a bad clear, and I believe it was Suster who tried to make a play from behind his goal line. It was not good at all by Big 62. Take a look. He misses that pass to Callahan. Look at Malkin in front. Big save by Vasilevsky. The Penguins on their power play. Puck was not really frozen. The Penguins playing. Look at Crosby. Wins another face-off, just throwing it to an area. Wins so many face-offs on his forehand, just banging it to the wall, even though it's across the other side of the ice. There he goes again.
Yep, smashes it to the boards, and Malkin steps up and forced back to center by Boyle. Letang has trouble with Boyle, but still able to get the puck ahead. And now Malkin carries into the Lightning zone. Looks for Hornquist. Over to the left side of Crosby. Sidney Crosby finds Letang at the top of the power play. Over to the near side, Malkin. Back to Letang. Left side, Crosby shoots it. Kicked away by Vasilevsky to the near wall. 1:02 to go on the penalty to the Lightning, and now to the near side, Malkin with it. Nestorov's in the box. Crosby works it up top. Letang shot stop. Rebound. Hornquist couldn't turn it over to get it to the goal. And Letang over to keep it in. He sends it in behind the net. Malkin, quick pass in front. Hornquist. He scores. Great pass by Malkin from behind the net. And the Penguins make it 3-2 with a huge power play goal.
They wouldn't be denied. I'm telling you right now, the plays they made with their gloves to keep pucks off the glass, in play, both sides of the rink. I mean, incredible stuff for the Penguins. And there's a play by Letang at the end of it. He was able to get it down deep to Malkin, back through the legs, blind to almost to Hornquist. He knows Hornquist is coming in. And he goes 5-hole, and Vasilevsky, who's, well, really got no chance because he's looking behind the net at Malkin. He doesn't know where the puck's coming. He could have cut the pass off. That's really the only chance the goaltender has really in that spot, to help himself out, cut the pass off like you see Fleury do so many times. Beautiful finish by Hornquist.
Now Kuhnhackl in on the forecheck for the Penguins. Sends it in behind the Lightning goal. That is a gigantic goal from a momentum standpoint. And the Penguins giving up 2 power play goals, but getting 1 back. Now they're down by 1 again. Carl into the Penguin zone. Got it to the front of the net. It's going to be up to Fleury now to really hold the fort. If the Penguins have any ideas of tying this game up and maybe pulling ahead of the Lightning in this game. Now here's Schuster driving it into the Penguin zone. Weird bounce. Mata trying to get to the puck. Palat has it. He drops it back to the blue line. Carl wrists it. It goes right to the circle where it's banked off the wall by Daly. Brought ahead now by Rust. Rust, good speed in this game for the Penguins. Down the wing now, but Palat cuts him off and banks it off the wall to Carl.
And it was Rust who drew the penalty that led to the Penguins' second goal. And a lot of hooking penalties here tonight.
Centering pass. Quick shot and a good save made by Vasilevsky there. Now Lovejoy with the chance, and that's blocked. An opportunity by Connor Sheary on that left wing. Now Sheary with it again. Sends it in behind the net. Matt Cullen there. Cullen backhands one wide of the goal. Lovejoy pinches down. The Penguins have good jump all of a sudden. They're playing with some desperation for sure in this game. It's just unfortunate that they got into penalty trouble, but fortunately for them, they've actually made the damage not nearly as bad as it could have been at this point.
The shots were 5-0 to start the game. There's only 11 shots on the board by the Lightning. The Penguins have really taken it over here, and minus the penalties, it's been a great game.
Here's Letang with it now. Got a quiet in the building right now, too. Lead pass on the left wing. Hornquist trying to hit Crosby cutting down the slot. Hornquist is just a demon tonight. He's playing with a tremendous amount of determination.
Delayed offside. Oh, he is.
Pittsburgh out shooting Tampa Bay 11-4 here in the second period. But it's the Lightning who have a 3-2 lead. Great play by Malkin to Hornquist.
He made it to the finals last season, but came up just short in their efforts to win their second cup. Former Bolt Martin St. Louis was part of that 04 squad, and last Friday he was in Burlington, Vermont, where his number 8 was retired by the University of Vermont. He's the school's all-time leading scorer with 267 points. Oh, and by the way, he then went on to score over 1,000 in the National Hockey League. And Bobby, I know you're a big fan.
Undrafted, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all those points would have... again, the scouts decided at some point there, Steggy, he was going to be too small to play the game.
Hey, he was in Calgary, and they let him go. Going to the net is Callahan, and he's stopped by Fleury, and Malkin snaps it ahead down to David Perron. Perron dumps it behind the Lightning defense and gets in after it. Perron rides Schuster off the puck. Following on was Kessel to try to get it to the front of the net. Now in the corner is Filppula. Malkin steps in to take it away from him. And now handled by David Perron. Perron works it up top, but then Cole, after it got deflected by Callahan, couldn't keep it in, so they'll go back into their own zone and start from there.
Malkin picks up an assist on that Hornquist goal. He's got points in 12 straight against the Bolts.
Letang getting that second assist on that play he made at the blue line. Now Kunakal just steers it inside the line. It's sent ahead now, just out of the reach of Nemestikov. And Cole banks it off the boards to center ice. Eric Fehr able to get possession there in the center ice area for the Penguins. Ahead to Rust. And the Penguins start from their own zone again. It's Ian Cole with it. Cole sends it ahead. Off a stick into the Lightning zone.
A Letang assist gives him 12 since November 1st. That ties with Carlson. That category, most assists.
Nestorov to Coburn, who hands it right to the Penguins' Olli Maatta. He banks it ahead. It's going to go just wide of the net, and as a result, it's an icing infraction against the Penguins.
Well, this is what I was just mentioning here. Since November 1st, when Letang has really been on a tear for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the amount of production they're getting from Letang from the blue line on the power play has really been special, Staggy. It really has. Really, his game, the way it's changed. He was so unconfident. You remember when he was breaking sticks across crossbars in Calgary this year. I mean, he was so frustrated. Now you see the plus minus. He's going down to -10 now. He couldn't gain a plus. The first 30 games, he only had one game in which he was plus.
Now Olli Maatta goes back for the puck in his own zone. And on the forecheck is Kucherov. Maatta just kept moving behind the net. Ahead now to Kunitz. Nice pass. Crosby 2-on-1. Hedman back. Here's Hornquist. Back for Sid. Oh, he steered it behind the goaltender, not into the net. Just too much of an angle on the steer, and it went right through the paint.
Oh, boy. I don't know if you'll ever see that again.
That was a tremendously executed play until the end when Crosby couldn't finish it off. And now Lovejoy trying to hold off his man in the neutral zone. Hedman funnels on. It's like a 3-on-1 here. Hedman shoots. Save made by Fleury. And he stops the rebound. And he has the puck.
Incredible stuff. And Fleury, boy, if the Lightning had to come back and scored after Crosby missed the wide open cage, that would have been a killer right there. A backbreaker. So Tampa gets a chance at the other end as Crosby he looks up to the heavens. Hedman, you know what? You could see Letang just messed him right up, didn't he? Hedman had the, and look at Crosby. Here's the steer, pass, and right out the other side. Staggy, he could have stopped that. He could have waxed it off. He could have just slid it in nicely on his backhand, did whatever he wanted to. He had so much time, and look at the look on his face. He can't believe it. It's all right, Sid. Stick with it. It's only 3-2. There's plenty of time left. He's looking up top right now at the screen. In-house screen. Gets a good look at it.
Puck's rolling when it comes to his stick, and off his stick it was just rolling. He just couldn't get it going in the right direction. Now at center ice it's Lovejoy. Challenge there by Filppula. He's able to angle one into the Lightning zone. Taken there by Garrison. Out on left wing now to Paquette. For Callahan into the Penguin zone. He looks back. Just fired to the corner by Schuster, but right there to play it is Malkin ahead for Perron. And out in center now, handled by Phil Kessel. Kessel drops it off to Gino. Coming with speed for the neutral zone. They're all backing in and shoots it off a stick. Gets in after it first. Throws it in front. Malkin just beating everybody to the puck right now. And he's got that next play ready when he gets there. Like he did on the goal by Hornquist. Now Paquette dumps it into the Penguin zone. Back to get it goes Letang. Up the right wing out of the reach of Kessel. And Letang got hit hard on the end boards, and he's hurting right now.
He is.
Picks up the stick. He's favoring his right hand, it looks like, or right arm.
Who was that, Paquette that hit him?
And he stays on the ice. Callahan hit him. Letang just working now with one hand on the stick. And he's hurting for sure, but stays on the ice. And Fair banks it ahead to center. Letang's going to head to the bench, which is all the way across the red line. Centering pass just beyond the reach of Kuhnhackl as Russ tried to set him up going to the goal, and time expires here in the second period. And there's Letang. He's hurting.
Yeah, he really is in pain right now. Discomfort on the bench. He was hit by Callahan. That right hand is feeling the brunt of that hit, as the boards aren't going to give. And he's got his hand in between his body, his stomach, and the man Callahan had just fallen right through on Letang. And let's hope that he's going to be all right. Come back in the third. Great speed by Russ there. The Penguins have taken over this game. They're still down by 1.
Let's go to Robin Jay.
2 game as we head to the third period. About what you might have expected from 2 of the more talented teams in the NHL. Here's what you missed, presented by your Western PA Honda dealers.
Both of these teams can really fly. Look out.
Yep, here comes one of them, Nemestikov. Shooting, he scores! A rifle shot by Vladislav Nemestikov. Letang coming to the net, shooting, saved by Vasilevsky, score on the rebound. Kucherov, Stamkos, flat pass, Doug Johnson, Kucherov, over to Filppula, he scores. Nemestikov out top, down ahead, then the slap shot, he scores off the post and in. Letang over to keep it in. He sends it in behind the net. Malkin, quick pass in front. Hornquist. He scores. Great pass by Malkin from behind the net. And the Penguins make it 3-2 with a huge power play goal. And that was a beautiful play by Evgeny Malkin to Patrick Hornquist that got the Penguins back to within 1. And then before the end of the period, Bob-Chris Letang was injured.
Yeah, well, he was hit hard into the wall. He was stationary, trying to make a play. But prior to that, he took a Crosby face-off wing. Crosby's been sensational in the face-off circle, 13-5. Then he dumped one down low to Malkin, out to Hornquist, and the Penguins made it 3-2 right there. There's the hit by Callahan. See the wrist? Oh, the hand. He's kind of he took the glove off as he went to the bench. He's hunched over. We were hoping maybe he lost his wind. It's a little more than that, and we'll see the extent of it here and take a look and see if he starts in this third period of play.
And we wonder where Letang's little streak of 5 goals in 7 games fits in historically. And you can see the other times when he did score a lot of goals in a short period of time. At one time in November of 14, he had missed 5 games during that stretch. So the games were sprinkled in around games he missed. This is a really good stretch of games for Chris Letang.
He's out, Steggy.
We don't. He's out on the ice on the bench. He's not. He's not back in the lineup. He's not back.
So whenever we get a report, we'll let you know. Mata's out there with Daly. Daly's playing the right defense right now. And I look down at the bench. There's certainly a gap in that bench, as Chris Letang is not on it.
That is a very, very big gap right now, because Letang is playing the best hockey that he can play, I think, lately. And the numbers are only at the tip of the iceberg, really. Here's Killorn now trying to come to the net. Mata reached out, so Mata will have a new partner. That's Trevor Daly at the moment. Here's Hedman shooting. He missed the net. Well, the Penguins, if they're going to win this game, are going to have to do it without the guy who's been really igniting their offense. Chris Letang. Hedman shoots. A redirect, and Fleury made the save with his left pad.
Wow, redirect by Killorn in the high slot. Killorn, he just gets tortured by Fleury.
Crosby trying to get it to the net. And the Lightning able to clear.
Boy, I love Alex Killorn, the way he plays. A big-bodied left winger, goes up and down the ice, but gets a lot of chances. Doesn't put them all in. He's always involved in the play, and a big save on a redirect by Killorn there.
And now Malkin moves it over to the far wing, and the pass not there. And the Lightning take advantage of that. Callahan with a drive and a blocker save made by Fleury. Perron didn't get it out. Held in. Callahan again shooting. A glove save by Marc-Andre Fleury. And a face-off coming up.
Well, we talked about it. The guys in the studio talked about it. The Penguins have taken over this game, but it is going to be a lot more difficult, more challenging without Chris Letang if he can't get back here. There's the redirect. Fleury comes across to make that left pad save on Alex Killorn. They've been resilient. The Penguins have come back time and time again. Found themselves down in this game. They didn't score the first goal. And when they don't score, the teams that score the first goal, 17-4 the Lightning. Oh no.
There's a block by Kühnhackl, and he is hobbling now as the Penguins come ahead. Fair shoots it, and a save by Vasilevsky on Eric Fair with Rust going to the net. Now Fair works for possession again along the wall. Nemesnikov is in there as well, along with Kucherov. Is that Nestorov? It is Nestorov working in the corner, and now it is Coburn working in his own zone, trying to get possession. Penguins keep it alive down low. Fair works it up high to Cole. Wrister redirect, that time by Rust, and a good save by Vasilevsky. So both goaltenders have had to make saves with their pads on redirects from way up high in the offensive zone.
Yeah, both wearing the same number too. And I'll tell you, Rust has got his fingerprints all over this hockey game right now, Stag. He's drawing penalties, he's getting Gabald. There's the redirect by Rust in the high slot. Kühnhackl, you talked about his blocking the shots, left instep. He doesn't wear the protective boot. Apparently, I didn't see it on his skate. I haven't noticed it. That protective device that a lot of players are using, and he's not one of them.
Here's Perron with control of the puck. Over to Dumoulin. A wrister. That one floats wide of the net. And the Lightning come back to center ice. And going back to play the puck in his own zone is Ben Lovejoy for Pittsburgh. Lovejoy banks it away now for Dumoulin. Dumoulin just flips one out to the middle of the ice. Perron couldn't reach it. Now he'll go to the bench. And the Lightning set it up from their own zone. Penguins are down by 1. Schuster with a puck in his own line. Penguins worked a lot on their neutral zone play in practice the last couple of days. Working on steering players, as the word that Mike Sullivan was using. Steering players away from where they want to go. Now the puck to the far wall, and Paquette there.
Oh, he got hit
too. Kunitz drilled him.
That's a penalty. It's going to be a board against Kunitz. And found Paquette with his back turned to the play, and Kunitz gave him a good stiff body check right into the glass.
Pittsburgh penalty, 14, 2 minutes, boarding.
Yeah, and the referee is in a good position, and they don't give you much latitude when you see a player's numbers, and you really have to let up on that kind of situation. That's exactly the type of play, yeah. But that is, I mean, you can say, is it or is it or not, and I don't disagree with that. Sometimes we're not there to feel the impact. I remember when Hedman hit Crosby after the outdoor game, and that's what led to Crosby being out for a long period of time, Staggy. So you really just don't know the effect of some of those hits.
The Lightning are 2 for 4 on the power play. They scored a goal on a 2-man advantage. They have 2 shots and 2 goals. All that power play time they had. Was that I think it was who just cleared the puck? Chris Letang on the ice, moves it out down to Kevin Porter. Porter down the wing and drops it off. Cullen a shot, and it's blocked in front. Comes around now for Ole Mata. So Chris Letang is back, doing his Ben Roethlisberger impersonation.
Nice.
Now out of center ice, taken by Nemesnikov. And the Lightning will set it up with a man advantage. Filppula into the Penguin zone, drops it off. Stamkos to the corner for Filppula. Up top now for Stralman. Cross for Namestnikov. Namestnikov works it down low. And the Lightning with that puck on the perimeter, they're not able to shoot here, at least not yet. Here's Stralman with it to Filppula. Filppula with an attempt to shoot it. It comes down low and cleared away by Kuhnhackl, who's back on the ice as well. And the puck comes bouncing over to the near wall. Good hit there by Eric Fehr. He took Filppula off the puck, but he's able to get the puck out to Stralman. 51 seconds on the penalty. Filppula has it again. The Lightning have been guilty at times, we've been told, of overpassing, not shooting the puck. Here's a shot. Glove save made by Fleury on Stamkos from the far over on the left wing. And there'll be a face-off in the Penguin zone.
Well, Letang's looking at that hand. He tried to make a pass up the ice. He didn't get it cleared. Then he had to bat one out of the air with that right hand, using the back of that hand. And your top hand, you control your stick with your top hand. And for Letang, his top hand is his left hand. So he can play that game, stick on puck, all that kind of stuff. But then when he's got to rip a shot, he's got to get the right hand on there and really use it. So good to see him back on the ice. That's step one.
Tyler Johnson to Andre Palat. Palat moves it out down to Kucherov, and his shot blocked. Comes to Hedman. Boy, he can really fire at Hedman. He knocked the stick right out of the hands of Ian Cole, and now Matt Cullen comes to center. And he dumps it down into the Lightning zone.
Good stuff there by Cole, who leads the team. That was 2 blocks there on that shift. 75 blocks coming in for Cole.
16 seconds to go on the penalty, and if the Penguins can kill this, that's a momentum builder for Pittsburgh, because they're killing it with a lot of purpose right now. The puck comes over the line, taken by Tyler Johnson. Johnson centers. Good play by Fehr to break it up. Back around now for Killorn. Penalty's over. Onto the ice comes Kunitz. And with it now is Palat. He works it into the middle. Here's Hedman again now for Johnson. Centers. Oh, steered just wide of the goal by Killorn. And then Lovejoy clears it. It's going to be an icing call on the Penguins.
And then Killorn gets more chances. He had 3 breakaways last year in one game against the Pens. That one there he missed. It wasn't quite the wide open chance that Crosby missed right from the same spot. There's Hedman, the fake. Johnson. Killorn off the tip of the stick.
Killorn has 7 goals on the year, 3rd round pick in 07. Lightning have so many lower round picks that are making big impacts, and free agents. Now here's Lovejoy with it. He banks it off the boards and gets it out to center ice. Taken there by Jason Garrison. Moves it up the right wing. J.T. Brown shoots it. Kicked out. Big rebound by Fleury, but it comes right to the Penguins, and Crosby comes ahead now with Hornquist on his right. Here's Hornquist shooting, and the save by Vasilevsky. And he makes sure there's no rebound. Catches it in that trapper, and there'll be a face-off. To the left of the Tampa Bay goals, we look at our UPMC Sports Medicine injury update.
Well, talk about hands. That one right off the right hand of Bonino. Tuesday, blocking a shot, as he always does. And we showed you a Kuhnhackl block here in this period with his skate. You're always, if you have the puck or you're out there playing the game hard, Staggy, you're always in the line of fire. You really are. You're either making plays. Letang's a target. He's one of the great defensemen we have in our game in the National Hockey League. Of course, Callahan's not going to miss an opportunity to take the body on Letang.
You know, the equipment that's been made by the manufacturers just isn't meant to be blocking shots. I mean, that's why they created goalie equipment. Seriously, here's Kessel with it now. Works it right side. Daly with a shot and a save made by Vasilevsky. I mean, if guys are going to stand in front of those shots coming out of 100 miles an hour, they got to be better protected. Here's a shot by Dumoulin wide of the net, and that includes those guards on the skates you were talking about earlier. This doesn't make a lot of sense to be putting yourself in front of shots like that when you know you're not as protected as you need to be. Here's Kessel with it, shooting. It's courage, no question about that. Here's a shot by Dumoulin, and Vasilevsky came way out to challenge on Dumoulin, and the save made. The Penguins throwing that puck around nicely in the offensive zone. Yeah. Daly with it. To Dumoulin. Dumoulin throws it in front. Oh, Vasilevsky prevents the puck from going in there as it came right to the doorstep.
What a redirect by Malkin. He got it up right into the crest of Vasilevsky, playing some great net mining here. You talked about him coming out to cut down the angle. Dumoulin's got 1 in the NHL, looking for 2. His other one came against the Lightning. Well, the standings, the updated standings.
Well, when we went into action tonight, 4 points separating 8 teams. I guess it's kind of pointless to focus too much on where you are and other than to say, hey, we know we're in a pack with a lot of teams and we got to get points.
It's important to get a point, at least a point. And the Penguins are clawing in this game to get back after going down 3-1, giving up a 5-on-3 goal and a 5-on-4 goal and 3 consecutive penalties. Boston did win tonight, so they move up to 49 points.
Ahead of Tampa Bay, who wanted to move ahead of Montreal with a win here tonight. Here's a shot by Mata, kicked out. And the puck cleared to the corner by the Lightning, and it comes right back to Crosby in the corner. Crosby in front for Kunitz. It comes all the way through. Mata's shot block. As Killorn got in front of it. The puck comes all the way to center ice. And the Lightning just trying to nurse this 3-2 lead right now. And the Penguins playing with that desperation that comes along with the situation they're in right now. And they know that they've got to have almost a playoff mentality. And that's what Mike Sullivan said today. And our playoffs have started already. Now the puck is whistled down. The play is on an offside here at the Lightning blue line.
So more face-off wins again here for the Penguins. I told you Crosby 13-5 after 2 periods of play, winning a lot of his face-offs, banging it to the wall in the forehand, just an area-type face-off win. He does that time and time again, and John Cooper knows. You know, all these coaches for the opposition, they're always asked about Sidney Crosby. What do you think? You know, he's having blah, blah, blah. He goes, hey, listen. Talking about the greatest player in the game right now. We saw Pacioretty talk about it, and Sidney Crosby has 6 goals from after Christmas to now.
Fair threw it to the net. Paddle down for goaltender Vasilevsky. Now Fair's tripped up, and Lovejoy shoots one, and it's blocked. And it just goes caroming all the way over to the near side into the seats.
You almost were able to reach out and catch that one, weren't you? And I talked about those Crosby goals. He missed a big one here tonight, or we tied at 3. Hornqvist made a beautiful play at the end of that second period. A lot of blocks here. We're talking about blocks, and you can add Dumoulin. Remember, you know, he got hit in the hand the other day as Hornqvist is just fired up, and he's playing some good hockey with Crosby right now. Rick Tocchet doing a little talking right now.
Rick Tocchet and Mike Sullivan reunited. They were coach and assistant coach in reverse when they were here in Tampa. Back in 08-09, Sullivan was already on the payroll, so they just brought him back. He'd been working with Tortorella. Now turning with it is David Perron, brings it up along the wall. By the way, Sullivan had a long chat with David Perron 2 days ago before practice. There's Malkin trying to feed it through. Perron gets it. David Perron cruising around, looking for an open man here. Here he is. The pass went off his skate on the return attempt by Kessel, but it comes to Malkin. Now Nicola drive and a save made by Vasilevsky. And now Callahan with it, bumped from behind by Kessel. The Penguins continue to work, and that centering pass eluded the stick of Malkin, who went down. He gets himself up slowly as the Lightning go the other way. Defending nicely is Trevor Daley, puck at the side of the net. And reaching in now is Cole, doggedly keeping that puck on the near boards. Gets it out to center. Crosby's there. Sidney Crosby tried to drop it off to Kunitz, but it's taken by Callahan. And here he comes. He drops it off. Stralman for Callahan. They make that Garrison for Callahan, but it comes around to Mata. And Mata carries out now for the Penguins to center to Crosby. Looks right wing for Kunitz. Schuster gets back. Puts it in an area where Crosby could have played it. He just couldn't play it on the wall. And the Lightning able to move it back to center where Mata banks it ahead in the neutral zone. Hornqvist to Kunitz. Tough work on the wall right now. Kunitz able to glove it down to himself. And now Mata can't play it. Look out, Tyler Johnson. But Letang with that closing speed gets over and one hands the puck back into the corner.
Yeah, Mata was standing flat-footed. Letang with that great speed. That closing speed evident there. Nothing the matter with his legs, I got to tell you that.
Here's Hornqvist lifting it into the Lightning zone. 11:09 to go in the third period, and the Lightning leading 3-2. They scored 2 power play goals on 2 power play shots, one of them with a 2-man advantage in that second period. Everyone's got into penalty trouble, and that's what sometimes happens. Just a stretch of 4 or 5 minutes in the hockey game can turn everything around. Now on the right point is Lovejoy. Risks the puck into the corner. Centering pass by Rust for Kuhnhackl. Kuhnhackl centers. Right there is Fair, and his backhand shot is stopped. And the rebound comes back into the corner. Kuhnhackl again with it, leaves it for Eric Fair. Fair strong on the puck right now on the near wall. And now he goes down, and the puck comes to center. Lovejoy over to confront Palat, who looks back. Palat has an open man rink wide, and it's Stamkos in front. Oh, and a big save by Fleury on Nemestikov, who was standing right there looking for another one.
Oh, man, what a save that was by the Flower. Woo. Hopefully a game saver for Pittsburgh.
Here's Hedman into the Penguin zone. Hedman swooping and looking for Boyle cutting to the net. He centers. Stamkos looks back, and the Penguins had it broken up, and now Hedman with a shot, and Fleury makes the save on Hedman. Penguins thought they had that play broken up, but it came through, and now it's a 2-on-1 for the Penguins. Ketzel with Perron. He's there, and he got hauled down by Boyle as he shot the puck and crashed into the end boards, and no penalty on the play. Here's Malkin with it. No stick for Vasilevsky. One-timer, Daley. He scores! Trevor Daley drills it in, and the Penguins have tied this game at 3.
And I don't think Vasilevsky had his stick. He didn't. He had lost it as Perron went by the net. I don't know if he was hauled down or not. There wasn't a penalty. The Penguins stayed into it. Look at it. Hedman is just beside himself right now about something. Here's off the rush. Boyle knocks down, and there is the stick to the left of Vasilevsky. And when the puck comes over, I'll tell you, that throws a goaltender completely off. And there's a challenge possibility, but they're going to decide, no, there wasn't a penalty there on Perron for goaltender interference. And where, or are they? They're going over to the bench right now. Are they going to possibly challenge this? No, shaking their head, no.
That's Steve Thomas, by the way. It's great with
Toronto Maple Leaf and amongst other teams, and they're going to decide, no, we're not going to challenge this, because they thought for a second we could challenge Perron for knocking the stick out of the hand of the netminder Vasilevsky. But there wasn't a penalty call there in that situation, Staggy. It almost looked like Perron did have a stick on him, but the Penguins, regardless, have battled back. Daley has tied it up at 3. Tons of time left. The crowd, they're angry now. All goaltending, Staggy, and special teams. You talk about it a lot. That's the case again here tonight with all the power play markers and such. But Nemestikov robbed by Fleury just prior to the goal, and then Hedman had a great opportunity. He was stopped through traffic by Marc-Andre Fleury. The puck goes down the other end. Trevor Daley ties it up at 3.
Nice to see Daley get on the board again. His first goal in 12 games. And he had that puck put right in the wheelhouse by Evgeny Malkin again. Malkin with another assist. Penguins have missed on 13 shots here tonight. There's a block shot in front. And Hedman slides to his left to lift that puck back to neutral ice. Letang on the ice at the moment.
He's on the ice with Daley.
Yeah, he's on the ice with Daley. And now here's Letang. Carrying that puck and banking it off the boards into the Lightning zone. Back to get it goes Anton Stralman. Past the halfway point of the third period, the Penguins have tied the game at 10-13. And there's another turnover by the Lightning. Daley with a shot and a stop by Vasilevsky, and he'll stop play. Forget, a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, look forward to Miller Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Got to get the big saves, and they often lead to big chances at the other end.
A little interesting to see Daley out there with Letang on that last shift. Now you have more of a pairing we've seen more often, Dumoulin and Lovejoy on the ice. So a little bit of shuffling of the deck, if you will, on the backside by the Penguins. Jacques Martin, who's in charge of the defenseman.
Malkin leans in to take the draw. And it's controlled on the faceoff. Filppula took the faceoff against him, but they don't get it out. Lovejoy risks one, the bouncing puck. Schuster there, feeds it back around to the far side. Brown. And Malkin went down again, gets himself up. Drags himself back to the neutral zone as they fight for the puck right in front of the Penguins bench. Malkin comes barreling in there, bumps a man, and the puck comes right to Kessel. Now Letang with it, I should say, and then behind the net taken by Lovejoy. Penguins, that was Kessel, I beg your pardon. Kessel looked like a defenseman standing behind the net. He went to the bench, and now it's Lovejoy moving it up the right wing. Carried ahead now at center ice. Again, speed for Brian Rust. Coming to the off wing. Backhand shot on the stop made by Vasilevsky. Rust says he actually prefers to play left wing. And you see he does tend to gravitate towards that left side when he carries the puck up the ice.
I can honestly say that he's not afraid to play at this level. You know, you can send him down if you want, but you can't say it because he doesn't have the courage and the moxie. When he's up here, I notice him.
Now here's Crosby with it. Back around for Letang. We're up the wall now for Hornquist, skating to the puck hard as Kunitz. Back to Hornquist closing in. He centers just out of the reach of Crosby. Now Sid's got to back check hard as the Lightning go the other way. Carrying over the line, Stamkos with that good burst, but poked off his stick by Letang, and the Penguins have possession. Crosby to Mata. Lead pass off the stick of Hornquist into the Lightning zone. Now Matt Carle pressured by Patrick Hornquist. Gives him a little jostle there in the corner, and that allows the Penguins to get in on the forecheck and maybe prevent the Lightning from getting out of their own zone. Now Perron joins in. But finally, Kucherov able to move it across to Carl, and out of center now to Killorn, wending his way to the Penguin zone. He fires it wide. Killorn is shifty, isn't he?
Well,
here he is again in the corner. Hornquist centers, or rather Killorn centers, and a shot off the post. Kucherov, and then the Hedman shot is blocked, and Malkin takes off after the puck. Malkin trying to get there first ahead of Stralman. And the Penguins, Kessel gets there. Now the Perron shot, stopped by Vasilevsky, and he juggles the rebound but is able to freeze. Perron trying so hard, and had a couple of good opportunities in this game so far and almost scored there.
You're not going to score if you stop shooting. Ask Kucherov that. And he just shot that one off the goalpost to the right side of Marc-Andre Fleury. The Penguins get a break off that goalpost. And this game is, boy, it's somewhat exciting right now. I got to tell you, some good up and down action with a lot of star quality, a lot of speed and talent on the ice. And then Russ is back out there. When you talk about speed, he's got it. And they're putting him back out. Mike Sullivan recognizes who's playing well. Letang's getting on the ice. They double shifted him a little bit in this second period of play. Really good stuff. Their third period, excuse me. Yep.
Right on Schuster now, in behind the net on his backhand. Schuster pressured by Rust, able to lift the puck back up into the Penguin zone. Going back for it. Brian Dumoulin on an icing infraction against Tampa Bay. After tonight, the Penguins return home. They're going to play the Carolina Hurricanes again, who are playing Vancouver tonight. They ended up getting a point in the loss to Vancouver. Catch all the action between the Pens and Canes Sunday starting at 2:30. Pens pregame presented by Heritage Valley Health System.
You look at the defense right now. You see Mata and Letang. Look at this formation. Now Letang moves over at the blue line for the one-timer. Mata decides to shoot it himself. He could have passed it to Letang.
Mata fired it down low and was kicked out by Vasilevsky. Mata with it again. Hands it off to Kunitz. Kunitz guns one, score! A rising shot. Special delivery by Chris Kunitz makes it 4-3.
I've never seen Chris Kunitz shoot a puck that hard in my entire life. And the Penguins are on top right now. Look at Hornquist. It's been an animal all game. And Kunitz goes back to Mata, moves to the middle, and look at this shot. What a rocket with the head up right by the stick of Hornquist. Kunitz just blows it by Vasilevsky. He just felt the wind go right by his left ear. Sid, I'm telling you, I've never seen it. I'm speechless right now. I've never seen him shoot the puck that hard. Have you?
No.
No,
he now has 9 goals in 11 games against Tampa Bay.
That was unbelievable.
And this is a really impressive surge by the Penguins. Here's Perron now. He'll flip one to the net, gloved down by Vasilevsky.
What a comeback this has been. They were down 3-1 after giving up the 2 power play goals. And now.
And the Lightning are stunned. And they thought they had the game in hand when they went up 3-1 after those power play goals. But the Penguins just kind of reached down a little deeper, didn't they?
It's so important, these 4-point games. You were hoping at one point they could just get a point out of this hockey game, Pittsburgh, and get it to the overtime frame. But now you want to protect this. You don't want to give the Lightning anything.
Now the Penguins will watch the Lightning try to come back. And there's a centering pass by Hedman that's broken up. And it comes to Perron now. He's tripped by Hedman. No penalty. Looks back for one. Wasn't called. Malkin swooping in to Kessel. Kessel tried to get it to the net. Just banks it off the end boards over to the far side. Palat gave it away. Kuhnhackl shot is stopped by Vasilevsky.
That was a big save there. Kuhnhackl with that long reach was able to put the stick out there and turn over a puck and try to go upstairs on the netminder.
And now it's Dumoulin with it over to Lovejoy out in the center ice area to Rust, trying to get it deep. Eric Fair will do that and just lift it inside the line. It's the idea now to get the puck behind that Lightning defense at every opportunity and just get in there and try to keep them in their own end as long as you can. Here's Lovejoy. He takes a heavy check by Callahan. Goes down and the puck goes back up into the Lightning zone, and icing is called against the Penguins.
Well, Kucherov had a chance to put the nail in the Penguins' coffin. He hit the goalpost. The Penguins come back. Fleury's made great saves, and our Subway sandwich is courtesy of Kevin Porter on Mr. Strawman. Anton Strawman, our Subway sandwich of the game, and we have a timeout right now.
By the way, Mata and Hornquist get the assists on the Kunitz goal. So Hornquist gets another point.
Timeout Pittsburgh here with the face-off to the right of Marc-Andre Fleury. And you have Kunitz out there with Fair and Rust. Not players that play together typically. Take a look at the last two Penguin goals. 3-2 coming into the third period play. Look at the rolling puck. Great look there, guys, as he blows it by Daly, by Vasilevsky on the short side. And that shot there, you talk about a shot, a rocket of a shot, a perfectly placed shot. You can put the shooter tutor up in your driveway, Staggy, and that thing's going right up into that hole.
I can't.
But he's going back. I mean, that's a never miss shot. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. And now it's protection. Get the puck out and get out of town.
There's Eric Fair on the ice here after the icing call. Mike Sullivan giving the Penguins instructions on how to deal with this situation here on the draw. And, as we head down the stretch here, a little under 5 miles to go for the Penguins. There's Paquette winding it around to the near side. Strawman hit hard by Kunitz. The puck held in at the blue line by Filppula. He couldn't get it deep to the corner, and Kunitz can't get it out either. Strawman closes in, holds it, backhand try, scores! Anton Strawman ties the game at 4 after the Penguins couldn't get the puck out.
After the timeout called by the Penguins, Mike Sullivan, the job that he's doing is saying, what do we do if we lose it? Strawman pinches. He's covered up by a forward. They get the puck down deep. The Penguins skate by it. Fair and Kunitz, they can't get it back. And Strawman, as nice as the Kunitz goal was, Staggy, I bet you Strawman's never scored a goal that nice in the National Hockey League. That thing was, that's pretty special. That's star quality there by a defenseman, folks, on a 360 spinorama over the glove hand of Marc-Andre Fleury, and we're tied up at 4. Great entertainment here in Tampa.
Minute 33 seconds between the two goals. The Penguins have 34 shots to 22 for the Lightning. Here's Cole with it now. He fires one, and it sails wide of the net. Now it's going to be handled again by Garrison. His lead pass goes up into the Penguin zone. Daly on his horse gets there. But he's checked and then following on to get it is Perron trying to get it out. Stick on the ice here. Somebody's lost a stick. And it's Kessel with it now in the neutral zone. Handled now by Cole. Cole banks it off the boards. Daly moves it ahead for Malkin. Couldn't play the pass cleanly. Taken by Tyler Johnson, and he'll dump it into the Penguin zone.
1:33 between goals. The Kunitz marker, the Strawman equalizer.
Kunitz steers it in. Coburn back to get it. Takes a hit from Kunitz. Works it up the wall. Nemestikov works it right in front of his own net to Hedman. And out they come. Going to play it now is Olli Mata. He'll take it in his own zone. Around now for Letang. And up the wing, Kunitz with a one-touch pass. Got it to Crosby, who found a way to get through center ice. Shoots it off a stick wide. Then gets in after, but Hedman cleared it away to the far wall. Hornquist over. Send it back in around behind for Sidney Crosby. And Crosby, one hand on the stick, turns the corner, brings it up high. Shot by Rust is blocked away to the far wall. Hedman over to play it. Rust gets in his face, takes the puck. Rust bounces in behind the net. He's really flying right now for the Penguins. Centers down a fair shot. Stopped, and Vasilevsky has control.
And how did he see the puck with Kunitz in front? Fair with the shot, and they're all over him. But I got to tell you, Brian Rust Wow. You're not watching the game if you don't notice this guy. He wants to be noticed. That's the name of the game. Rusty, you're looking fine. Talking about Bryan Rust and his ability, his tenaciousness on the puck. Look at this. Against Hedman, an all-star, steals the puck. Then he jumps over the stick of Coburn, finds Fair in the high slot. And this has been every shift. This has been repetitive from Rust. And that was Kühnhackl, I believe, in front, not Kunitz there. What do they say on the bench? Cooney, you're up. Cooney, you're up. Yeah. And they both jump. You got to be careful.
You have to come up with another name for Kühnhackl.
Filppula going to the bench for a new twig. That one's not going to work for the face-off. He was really involved in the Tampa goal, backing up the defense. Strawman, who pinched. And this is going to be a dandy of a finish. Now you see Mata and Letang have flip-flopped with the face-off on the other side, trying to give the guy in the middle the one-time opportunity if they want to go to that D-to-D pass.
From the face-off, Filppula against Crosby. Paquette got over to clear it. Filppula with Paquette and Callahan. Callahan on the forecheck, bumps Mata. Up the wall, Hornquist trying to get it out. Pinching down on him is Hedman. And it comes right to Mata, to Kunitz, who backhands it off the wall. But there are the Lightning again to turn it back into the Penguin zone.
And that was Filppula again, Staggy. Strawman pinching on the wall. The centerman, Filppula, so well trained in Detroit. His defensive abilities have really helped get this team back into the game. Again, backing up Strawman on the goal and there on that shift in the neutral zone. When you can have trust in your centerman, that's so important. That F3, that high forward in that neutral zone. There he is right there. Very astute hockey player.
In the third period, the Penguins have outshot the Lightning 16-9. The shots are 35-22, but the game is tied at 4.
Another big face-off.
Lightning averaging 2.53 goals a game, 17th in the league. They led the league in goals last year. So they're only 17th this year, but tonight they look like the team that scored a boatload of goals last year. Now here's Killorn behind the net, and so do the Penguins for that matter. Here's Killorn with it. Brings it back in behind the net. Centered by Kucherov. Mata reached in to try to get a hold of it. Now sent back around to the near wall. Garrison pinches down. Kunitz bumps in. And this time it's Tyler Johnson, the F3, getting out to the blue line to dump it right back in. And yes, the Lightning, they know exactly what they're doing when they're deep pinches. And now on the near wall, it is Kunitz steering it back to neutral ice. We're down to 1:51 in the third period with the game tied at 4. Here's Malkin taking the lead pass. Hands it off to Kessel. Nice skating in over the line. Kessel shoots and it's blocked. Gets it back. Feeds it in behind the net for Malkin. It jumped off his stick but comes right back to Kessel in front. Perron didn't see it coming. And as a result, the Lightning get it in an opportunity here. Look out. Centering pass. Right to the goal. And a good save by Fleury with the left pad on Hedman, who now has to get back. And here comes Kessel again. Kessel's the man who turned the puck over there. That led to that scoring chance. Now Dumoulin with a shot, and Vasilevsky able to make the save and hold on.
Good rush, 3-on-2 for the Lightning. They turn it the other way after Kessel tried to hit Perron in the slot. Perron was already trying to go back and play defense. And then Hedman streaking down the middle of the ice. Patience, patience. There's the chip, and it goes off the Penguins. Dumoulin almost in behind Marc-Andre Fleury and make that left pad save.
1:18 to go. Fair wins the draw. Cole with a wrister, and it's blocked. Taken on the near boards by Callahan, who just softly sends it back to the Penguin line. Cole to Rust, to Kühnhackl. Those two have some chemistry, don't they? Kühnhackl dumps the puck into the Lightning zone. Fair gets in after it. Now Callahan over to play it. And the bouncing puck will be taken by Trevor Daley. Less than a minute remaining in the third period. The game tied at 4. Callahan dumps it behind, but then right there is Daley to work it back to neutral ice. Fair has it there for the Penguins. Can't get it into the Lightning zone, and Filppula takes possession.
Penguins clog up that neutral zone. They're looking for a turnover here late.
Time ticking down here as the Lightning take their good old time in their own zone. Garrison comes to center ice. They shot it off the leg of Kucherov, and then Letang's pass hit a man and came to the near wall where Kunitz has it. 24 seconds remaining. Kunis pressured by Killorn, backhands it off the boards to center. Picked up in flight now by Hornqvist. Here he comes. Hornqvist shoots with a sharp angle and a save made by Vasilevsky. Hornqvist isn't slowing down. I mean, he's gonna play right to the last bitter second of this game. Now to the far wall comes Kucherov. Center for man, it was stolen by Crosby, and he shoots it wide with Hornqvist down in front of the net. Time expires.
That was a ridiculous play by the Lightning to try to make a play to the middle of the ice with 5 seconds left. I mean, that'd be, if I'm coaching, that'd be the guy's last shift. Unbelievable. But Hornqvist and the Penguins, they ball you up, try to make a play to the middle of the ice. It doesn't work, and the Penguins almost make the Lightning pay late in this period.
Looking at our McDonald's player of the game, Patrick Hornqvist, just indomitable tonight again. His spirit is just such a contagious force for the Penguins. A goal and 2 assists. Right to the end of the game, he was thrashing around down there in front of the Tampa Bay goal. And now we're going to have a Barrel.com overtime and 3-on-3 hockey.
Well, the Penguins need to finish one of these off. They've already relinquished a late point here to Tampa, although they did fight back. They were down 3-1 to overtake the Lightning. It was 4-3, and the Lightning get the tying goal off the defenseman's stick. Anton Stralman on a beautiful spinorama goal, and let's see how this one's going to end.
Lightning are 6-4 in overtime. Here we go.
All about puck possession.
Letang, Malkin, and Kessel on the ice for Pittsburgh. And this is Valtteri Filppula. He's with Tyler Johnson and Anton Stralman. Filppula to Johnson. Now Stralman reverses his field against Malkin. Cuts in around, trying to stuff one in. Kessel settles it down in front of the goal. Can't go with it. Stralman picked his pocket, but now Malkin takes it away from him. Kessel down the wing. Centers for Malkin. A shot, and Vasilevsky makes the save on Gino. And then the Lightning able to get it out. Fleury comes way out of the net to help the play along here for Letang.
Yeah, he didn't want the Lightning to change. He was hoping Letang would turn it up right away because the Lightning player's tired. Filppula's still on the ice. Now Stralman's making a change.
And Letang still out here. Gets to the Kunitz, who came on with Crosby. Kunitz to Crosby. Here he comes. Another goal. Fakes the shot. Tries to pass behind the back for Kunitz, who didn't know it was coming. And the Lightning go the other way. Now it's Stamkos. He drops it off to Palat down the wing. And Palat turns the corner. Letang greets him there on the other side. He brings it up to Hedman. And Hedman sends it back down the boards where Kunitz slaps it out in center, just out of the reach of Sidney Crosby. But he'll get in after it to the corner. Crosby with Letang open in front of the goal. Turns the corner. He's got Hornqvist. There he is, and he shot it wide. Now Letang will take it, and his pass for Crosby nowhere near him, and it goes back into the Penguin zone. Well,
Letang just got off Staggy.
Right, he's able to change. And now at center ice, it is Daly, and picked off of the neutral zone by Hornqvist. Penguins make another change as Hornqvist shoots it hard. The save made by Vasilevsky. Hornqvist after his own rebound behind the net. Hornqvist continues to work. Now Fair wants to get there, but look out. It's Kucherov down the right wing. He's got Nemestikov going to the net, and Hornqvist gets back to take it away, but now Nemestikov has it. And here's Vladislav Nemestikov with it. Controlling the puck beautifully.
Stay inside. Hornqvist is tired. Stay inside.
Fair forces him back and over the line. He said he kept it in, and the shot. Fleury doesn't know where it is. It's in. Nemestikov has the hat trick. He scores again, and the Lightning win it 5-4 in overtime.
Kucherov grabs the puck. It is the hat trick. There's not a hat. Now I see a couple from the upper deck. Nothing on the ice as the Lightning and the Russians talent. We're going to take a look here just to make sure the Penguins have stayed on the bench. Was it offside? No, that's not offside there. That's going to be a good goal. That puck's got to go all the way over that blue paint. Kucherov was able to keep it just onside. There won't be a coach's challenge here. There can't be. It's instituted from Toronto in the final minute and the overtime. This one will stand, folks. This is going to be a Lightning win on the hat trick marker.
It was a good look at their last look where you could see he banked it off the pad of Fleury in. Off his skate.
And that was Hornquist. He was exhausted, Staggy. He was out in front. It's a man-on-man situation there. Hornquist was in great position. He was inside the man. And that was just a beautiful, beautiful finish there by Nemesnikov.
Penguins are staying. They want to know if it was offside, but we've looked at it.
The goal is automatically under review in the Toronto Situation Room for offside prior to the goal.
Yeah, so it's not a coach's challenge. As we said, it's automatically under review in that final minute in overtime in Toronto. So unless, from what I saw, the puck did not come over that blue line. If that's the only play they're looking at, folks, maybe it was something prior to this, but that one there is not offside. That puck does not go over the blue line. That's a good play there.
So the fans will get to cheer all over again.
Unless there was a play prior to that.
Upon further review, there was no offside on the play. The call stands for goal.
Oh, now they throw the hats.
Well, the Penguins had the lead. They gave it up, and the Lightning come back and get the extra point. So the Penguins don't catch them in the standings. They don't pass Montreal, but they do get a precious extra point that the Penguins would love to have gotten here. Let's go to Rob and Jay.